All right, and the time has come, everybody. Welcome, everyone, to day 4 of ArvCon 2025. It is the final day of ArvCon, and as you can see, we have not been idle during this last time. We have had, to this point, about 26 and a half, almost 27 hours, I think, of content over the last 3 days. But it all comes to an end for this year, ArvCon 2025, today, with our final tabletop session, or final event, which is a tabletop role-playing game one-shot with the Damon Runyon Cancer Research Foundation scientists, which I had the opportunity to interview Saturday. What even is time? Saturday, as we continue to raise money for Damon Runyon. And in that spirit, let me just turn on that and say hello. Welcome, everybody. It is good to see you all. I am wearing today my Thundercats shirt because it is representative of the community that I feel like we are, and never has that been more in evidence than during the ArvCons, including this year. It has been a really amazing community event, so much so that when I went to bed last night, after the Marathon Eberron session, we were sitting at around 6:40, something like that, and during the after parties at Tilted Gaming's channel and Drew the Damager's channel last night, we ended up moving up, getting another $300 of donations to bring us up to $39.41.90. So we're just under 1,000 shy of our goal of 5,000. Super pumped up for that. Oh, it's good to see you, Tom. No, it's all good. You're here now. That's fine. Life is life. I totally get it. But we are here. So we are in very good shape going into this last one. We can do it. All we need to do is raise that $1,000, and we will have hit goal, which will mean we will have raised over $40,000 to benefit Damon Runyon since this event began 11 years ago. And I have faith that we will be able to do it. Now, in case you're here for the first time, or you're joining us and you're like, wow, it's been a long weekend, Arv. How do you do all this? I'm glad you asked. During the session that you're about to watch, there are going to be multiple occasions during which you're going to see things flashed on the screen about donating and supporting and doing all that kind of good stuff, like what Prince Justin was kind enough to put in just now. That donate command is where you need to go to donate to Tiltify. And we're going to get on the screen this dramatic burp burp sound when that happens, which is going to be cool. And then after we get that sound, let me just unmute that. After we get that dramatic, awesome sound, the donation total will go up, and then I will adjust it. We have, in case you're wondering about the discrepancy, there is a $26 donation, and actually, I realize that we're actually a little bit higher than I thought. It should be one more dollar than that. $39.42.90, because we had a $26 donation that didn't come through in the usual way, and so I had to donate it in kind of a separate path, so it didn't get counted as part of Tiltify. So we're actually sitting at $39.42.90. So I will be adjusting that throughout the course of the next few hours, but we do want to hit that $5,000 goal, and once you do that, you're going to get all kinds of things. Let's say that you want to be the top donor, and you want to get that amazing picture that you see behind me, the incredible photograph done by none other than Drew the Damager, and you want to be the top donor. Well, I'm going to be putting up a list of the top donors in a bit, but right now, the top donor is Hillness, $500.01. The second donor right behind him is Dragonspear, who is sitting at $300, and the third donor right now is actually Thordax Mommy, who contributed $250, about $286. Those are the top 3 donors right now. So it's an aggregate thing. So if you want to donate more than that, because you would love to get that huge picture right there by Drew the Damager, which is awesome, or that somewhat smaller but still super amazing one from Prince Justin. That is really cool. Both of those are metal, suitable for framing. The little one actually has a stand, so you can actually put it right on your desk. Those will come to you if you want to be the top donor, the second top donor, or if you want to get that prize pack at the third donor level, which is where you get Super Camelot, where you get Super Camelot Vikings, the board game, and then you get Icarus, Greyshade Renegade Heretic from me, along with a set of dice from a company whose name rhymes with Blotsy. Once you do that, then you will be able to get that third donation prize pack. Plus, every time we hit $100 donation level, so 4,000, 4,100, etc., we have more donations more giveaways, that get given away, codes and shirts and all kinds of cool things that you can get. And so what I would ask you to do is to please donate early, donate often. Okay, we're trying to get to that $1,000 level, and the earlier we can do that, so that we can hit that 5,000, the better. Secondly, please spread the word. Let people know about this. Bring them in here. Let's get an amazing turnout. We've had a great turnout literally all weekend. It's been a really awesome turnout. Let's continue that. Let's bring in the people, and let's get as many folks as we can contributing to this and having fun with each other in community. This is going to run until about 6 p.m. Eastern, and then I am going to wrap up after that. I expect it'll be about a 15 to 20 minute thing, maybe 6:30 p.m. at the latest, and then we will be done and finished with the event for this year. Damon Runyon, hey, good to see you, Damon Runyon. And yes, we had some more donations last night, even after I went to bed, Damon Runyon. So we're just under $4,000 right now, which means we're just about $1,000 shy of our goal, which is pretty much where we were last year, give or take $100 or so. So we're right in the same range, which is amazing. And let's really do it. Last year, it was the scientists that brought home the most. This is the last thing I want to say. It was the scientists that brought in the most money the last time. Now, right now, the crew of Eberron ended up bringing in, I think, in the end, about $1,100 here. So if this crew brings in $1,200, then the scientists will have once again claimed the crown of the highest raising session, the highest raising amount of the weekend, which of course is the much coveted prize for bragging rights and things like that. So, but I'm very excited for it. We've been busy, and it's been an honor to have these folks with us. And so now that we are in that position, I think we are going to be ready to go. I am going to, let's see, I'm going to quickly capture all of their stuff because they have, we set this up ahead of time. We have a lot of cool windows and things that are prepared. I think that's what that looks like. And then I just need to move the text over like this. And then we do that like, nope, we do that like that. And like that. And then we move that up like that. And then we should be good to go. Yes. All right. I think we are now officially prepared. So I'm going to unmute myself so the folks know that we are ready to go. I'm going to apologize to them in advance because I may have interrupted them because I couldn't hear them. And last but certainly not least, I'm going to head over to reveal to, I hope, thunderous applause in chat and so on. There we are. And there they are. The crew is ready. It is a great honor to introduce once again the Damon Runyon Cancer Research Foundation scientists and also dear friend and GM extraordinaire and design consultant on the game today, Michael R. Underwood. So, Mike, I'm going to throw it over to you. Again, my thanks to you and the scientists for this. And let's get the rest of that donated money and let's have a fun time with Daggerheart. Over to you.
Hey everybody, it is so great to be back on Greg's channel here at ArvCon, and I'm really excited to be back and sharing a game that I have been working on more or less on and off for like a year and a half at this point, right? Daggerheart just came out this last week. I worked as a contract designer on the game. My credit is additional designer. I had a hand in a lot of different parts of the game. But mostly today, I'm just excited to share a game that is focused on collaboration and on inviting and making space for everybody involved to get to share their kind of artistic interest and their creativity and just to have a nice, fun time together in a way that is amusing, exciting, dramatic, or whatever other aesthetic enough to encourage folks that are watching to take a look at their wallets and their bank accounts again and going, could I afford to make another donation? Maybe just a small one. It'll get other people excited to make a donation as well. So, right, we are doing really well on the funding goals so far, but today is the last day, and so this is our time to get that number over the goal. Greg had said that we're shooting for $5,000, so keep that in mind. If you are wondering, yes, your donations can have an impact on the story. We have some options for that, but first I would invite our lovely scientist fellows to briefly reintroduce themselves, especially if there's anybody watching today who didn't watch the great interviews this last weekend. And so what we're going to do is this is going to be in order that I'm typing into the chat, starting with Kat.
All right. Well, okay. My name is Kat Triandafillo. I'm a postdoctoral scientist in Dr. Arjun Raj's lab at the University of Pennsylvania. And I'm excited to play today because I want to see my character kick some butt. I want to throw my sword around. So,
Excellent. Next up is Brendan.
Hi, my name is Brendan Floyd. I'm a postdoctoral fellow in Dr. Carolyn Bertozzi's lab at Stanford University. And yeah, I'm super excited to be here playing my first tabletop RPG game. And I am playing a druid, so I'm just so excited to change to animals. Honestly, that was like the thing I was putting from the start, and I'm excited to do it.
Okay, and Stephen.
Hello, my name is Stephen Park. I'm a postdoc fellow in Professor Marcella Mauser's lab and Mass General Hospital and Harvard Medical School. And I'm also really excited to do this because this is my first time to play TTRPG. And then as a scientist, as a sorcerer, I will use the magic to damage and kill the monsters. I'm very excited.
Fantastic. So for the folks that don't already know, it's up in my name in the Zoom, but I actually don't know. Let's see. Has Greg put this in here? Why is the thing not showing? Anyway, I use they and he pronouns. So if I'm talking to myself in the third person, I'm using they. It's all good. We're fine. Just keep going. Uh, Daggerheart mostly uses a 2d12 system. We call these the duality dice. One represents hope, one represents fear. And so when one of these three characters wants to take an action that has like a dramatic sense of consequences, right? Something big and interesting could happen if there is failure or if there is a complication. So only then am I going to generally ask for a roll. Compared to some other games, Daggerheart doesn't ask you to roll the dice as often. It assumes a certain level of competence of the heroes, and we're very consciously telling a heroic adventure story, right? Most of the time, for me, it's not a question that rises the level of heroic fantasy, whether a trained thief can climb up a 10-foot wall with lighting when the footing is fine. If they couldn't, that would be something more interesting. Like, okay, well, are they actually not as good as we think? But by default in Daggerheart, we are going to trust that these characters are competent. And then I, as the GM, am going to trust their competence and then throw additional challenge at them so that everybody is having an exciting time. What we're going to do to start is I'm going to invite each of our players to just introduce us briefly to your character. And so for that, it might be the character's name. And then if you want to read that text in gold that's right below it, right? So that's going to be Ridgeborn, and then your ancestry, and then your class, and then your subclass is in parentheses. So you can give us that and then tell us, another couple of sentences or lines about how you imagine this character. And then we'll keep on teasing out and developing these characters, their relationships to each other, and we'll talk some about this world that we're going to have an adventure in so that we can highlight both how we build the story together, but also how easy it can be in Daggerheart to have a character come alive. So, does anybody feel like jumping in first to introduce us to your character?
I can go for it.
Okay, that's
Um,
great. Thank you.
no problem. Um, my name and character, obviously, is Falcone. Not very subtle here. We'll get there. And I am a wild-born Furbolg. I believe I'm saying that right. Druid, and a Warden of Renewal. Um, Now, my character, Falcone, is a druid, as it implies, transforms. I really want to thank Mike for allowing this, transformed into a bird for the most part, and really going to be turning into a falcon more often than anything. So the name really just coincidence there. Um, I think I'm imagining a backstory because I have some experience as a town medic here, of maybe like a local small town medic, which I could maybe come up with a name of, or could get a name could be thrown at it, who realized at some point that they could turn into a falcon. It was happening kind of uncontrollably at first. Eventually, it got a little more under control. But I think this town, like Falcone in this case decided that there was a whole life to be lived doing and tracking animals and just studying things out in nature, and decided to leave the town medic gig and go off and explore. And yeah, that's kind of the backstory I'm thinking here.
Okay. So one of the things that we do in Daggerheart is the GM will ask questions to the player about the character. And I might speak to you as if you are the character, but I'm understanding that you're making the choice as the player, right? So, Brendan, I'd love to toss a kind of a twist at you and see how you feel about it. What if there was another character, right? Somebody who was maybe a childhood friend or neighbor of yours who could also turn into an animal who you've lost contact with? How do you feel about that?
Oh, I like that.
Okay. Do
Um,
you want to
yeah.
tell us a little bit about who that person might be? Just make this character together a little.
Yeah. Could it be like a mentor? Maybe like so trained under a different town medic, and that town medic had a secret that they could turn into an animal. I don't know how this society is accepting of people who are turning into animals randomly. I'd hope pretty accepting of it. So eventually the mentor tells me that they can do this, and I'm recently like getting used to this. And as you say, they go off after they give this information for whatever reason, and now
Okay.
here I am in the same role. I like that.
Okay. Great. So, and to show my hand both to the players and to folks who are watching, I'm doing this because this is helping me develop the cast, and it's giving me arrows to put in my quiver for dramatic actions to take later in the story, right? If I reintroduce this mentor in peril, then that's going to maybe drive Falcone to action. So we'll come back to Falcone, right? We're going to get to know these characters more and more, but I'd love to go over to Stephen or Kat to give us a quick introduction for your character.
Okay, I can go next.
Yeah.
If that's okay. Yeah. So my character name is Spark, because his magic feels like that, like a small flame, but it can start a wildfire and light the darkness. Um, and he is not loud and bored, but when he acts, it means something big is about to happen. His magic doesn't lure, but it flickers, burns, and eventually it ignites.
Okay. So it
Yeah,
sounds like you're focused on the element of fire for your character,
yeah.
right? So the various other effects that you're going to take use because Daggerheart is meant to be a pretty flexible system, there's a lot of leeway, but having that theme of fire hopefully will give you kind of a sense of continuity for the character. And it sounds like you've already been developing that, which is really cool. So for Spark, how long do you think he has kind of known about this power, and what's the journey been like in controlling it since fire can be very destructive?
So he's quite new regarding power, but he when he was young, he asked too many questions regarding like forbidden magics. And once he tried to cast a spell that he didn't understand, so which make the people afraid him like as a career because of he has a lot of curiosity. And then old professor teach me how to use the magic, but yeah, that's all. Like he's really young generation, but like couldn't control himself quite well about the
So
magics.
what happened with that spell that he didn't understand? What did something go wrong? Was there damage? Did somebody get hurt?
Yes, because of he couldn't control his magic regarding the fire. So as I already mentioned, the spark, like it was a really small flame, but like, it actually burned the village. So it actually causes like huge damage to the people, the village. So it can be a wildfire and then causes really huge damage. Yeah.
Okay. So did people rebuild or did everybody move after that fire?
They rebuilt, but I escaped from the village. Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. All right. And Kat, if you want to tell us about your character.
Sure thing. So I am a Ridgeborn giant guardian, and my subclass is Vengeance. I guess the way I'm imagining Esme is that she's a sort of a like a hired blade kind of situation, but she's not particularly good at it because she tends to form sort of maybe like very intense connections with the people that she works for, and then she's also very like stubborn and hard-headed. So sometimes she'll do things that like aren't within the contract or violate the terms of the contract because she has such a strong sort of feeling about it. And so for that reason, she's perhaps not particularly successful in this endeavor, at least from a sort of financial perspective. But it does give her the opportunity to kind of travel around and meet new people. And she's certainly not. She's intelligent, but I think tends to act a little impulsively. So sometimes she'll do things that perhaps are not like sort of the wisest course of action because she's sort of overcome by, I think the primary drives are to sort of protect the people around her, but also if someone wrongs her, she's like gonna try to strike back at them, maybe when it's not advisable.
Okay, very cool. So, pulling on that thread about like connecting with people in a way that's maybe unwise, is there some time when Esme kind of either quit a job or gave up on a job or switched sides because of connecting with somebody? And if so, who got pissed off about that, right? Who still bears a grudge because you made a decision based on kind of connecting with people?
Yeah, that's a good question. Maybe something like, I mean, maybe she's like far from where she originally came from. And the reason for that is because, she was doing kind of like local work where she grew up. And then maybe she was contracted by the local government to do some kind of job where maybe she just like in the end ended up like not agreeing with what, sort of the morality of whatever that choice was. And so she kind of said, screw the contract. I'm going to do what I want. Maybe, I don't know, maybe they wanted her to like take somebody prisoner and she was like, this person didn't do anything wrong, I'm not going to do it, something like that. Maybe it was someone who was, maybe that she knew from growing up or something like that, and so she like knew they were a good person and didn't want to get involved in that. But then she kind of had to like yoink out of town because now she was sort of wanted
Okay.
or at least like was in breach of contract to some degree.
Yeah, so I think um, there's a lot there. If we the great thing about this process is that it's very easy to build more plot hooks than I could ever use in one session.
Okay.
So for you, Kat, are you more interested in having a character show up who is somebody you angered because of this, or that friend who you helped?
Ooh, how about the person I angered? How about like
Okay.
some comeuppance kind of coming back and I
Yeah.
have to
Is
deal with
this
that?
like a constable or a sheriff level person?
Ooh.
Or is it like
Um,
a mayor baron?
Maybe it's the Baron, but it's being sort of it was like a subcontract kind of situation. So they're the ones giving the order, but the actual sort of nitty-gritty of who hired me was someone lower down. So maybe like it would be possible that the higher up could know about it, but maybe they don't care and it's really more just like the sort of more local kind of thing.
Okay. Why don't we have a magistrate in that case, right?
Sure.
This is like a kind of lawyer judge type person. Um, do you have like a type of person or like a look in mind that we should use?
Ooh. Well, I guess maybe I guess know enough about this world, but I guess I sort of imagined that this place I was from was mostly giants. I don't know why.
Okay, sure,
So I
yeah.
guess maybe they're like kind of sort of small and weaselly looking for a giant, whatever that means.
Okay. Cool. And do you have a name in mind? I can come up with one if nothing is striking you.
Ooh, that's a great question. The first name that came to mind was Severus.
Okay.
We can go with that maybe. That seems a little too like on the nose and evil, but whatever.
Let's see. We could do Severin or Severain.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I like that.
How about Severain?
Great.
And okay. Brandon, coming back to you, let's name that mentor and come up with a little bit more about them.
Yeah, I don't know why, but like Leonard or some variant of Leonard
Okay.
is coming into my head as a
Yep.
name. Could-
And what kind of person was Leonard, or what was Leonard's reputation in this community before they left?
Yeah, so I'm almost thinking like old like Ben Kenobi kind of like has seen a lot, uh wisdom keeper almost in the town who's functioning as the town medic, and then
Mhm.
yeah, but to me like just like personal like mentor who's watched over most of my like younger early adulthood days, things like that.
Um, and here I'm going to make an assertion, and you can say no if you don't want to, but I would really like to. Um, I feel like this mentor, Leonard, maybe you got the sense that Leonard was involved in some big stuff before coming to your village. What do you think Falcone suspects about Leonard's past?
Interesting. Definitely that there's some withholding. And I do like this. I like it. I feel like that still keeps with the Ben Kenobi comparison. But I do like, yeah, some kind of mysterious, like almost association. Like you see, like I've seen friends that like will pop in and you'll never see them again. Typically they're having like whispered conversations. I walk in and they just stop. Um, yeah, and like letters from people who in places I've never heard of, things like that. And I have
Okay.
seen them. I have just never asked about them. Or if I have, he's just immediately changed the subject.
Okay. Excellent. So that gives me some material to begin with. What I'd like to do next is let's talk a little bit about how these three characters came to know one another. And so for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite you to, on your character sheets in Demiplane, to go and find the tab um, with, I think it's going to be your details. Yeah. So under details, there's description, clothes that are, eyes that are, but then I want you to scroll down to connections. And there's 3 questions. And what we're going to do is each of you is going to ask one question, and then one of the other 2 is going to answer it. And that will create a connection between your 2 characters. And what those details are is up to you, but really it's best when both people are like, we like that from both sides, right? So because there's going to be 2 aspects of that relationship. And so you can pick one of your 3 questions and ask it. And then one of the 2 others, you would say, oh, I think maybe that's me. And then we talk it through. If you pitch a question and it doesn't necessarily excite anybody, we might jump down to another question. And then my goal is that we'll have a connection from Falcone to Esme, Esme to Spark, Spark to Falcone, so that everybody has kind of an equal amount of connection. How does that sound, everybody?
That sounds good.
Okay, so does somebody have a connection question they're really excited to kind of apply for their character in the group?
I can ask a question.
Okay, great.
What lie have you told me about yourself that I absolutely believe?
Yeah, right. And so this can be a bigger lie or a smaller lie, something you did or didn't do.
Am I directing it at someone specifically, or is it anyone who wants to jump in?
Yeah, so for this, let's have it be either, and then Stephen or Brendan, you can jump in if you think that might be interesting for your character to answer.
I almost feel like it'd be fun to like make up an animal that I never turned into, like something giant, and I'm just like I just choose to not do it, but I talk about the story all the time. Like I once was this like 100-foot tall dragon, and you know, it took so much energy. I just can't do it again.
I like it. I like it
Yeah,
because yeah, I feel like I would be excited about that because it sounds really cool. You know what I mean? Like I'd be
yeah,
like, yeah,
yeah.
totally. One of these days he's totally gonna whip it out, in a battle or something. It's like absolutely not.
Exactly, exactly. I like that.
And so
Okay,
for
cool.
for Falcone, where do you think that came from, that impetus to kind of make this boast?
I you know, I almost feel like it might just be like having conversations with Esme and like maybe I see her as a little gullible. So I'm like, oh, I could totally feed her this story. I tell no one else this story, but I just tell it to her. And I tell her it's like, this is like my secret, like a secret power I have or something.
All right.
If I can put the gullible side on a different character.
Yeah, I like it. Maybe it's just that like no one turns into animals where I'm from, so it's just
Sure.
kind of like I'm
Yeah.
like, sure, seems
Yeah.
reasonable.
Okay. All right. So because Brendan, you answered, why don't we have you ask one of your questions, and then we'll see, Stephen, how you feel about it. And if not, we might maybe find another question, then we'll complete the circle.
Yeah. I'm gonna try this one. What did you confide in me that makes me leap into danger for you every time?
Oh, interesting.
Ooh, okay. Because I spell many different magics that I don't fully understand. And then like like so the question was like I make you afraid, right? Is that correct? Can you repeat it again, the question?
Or you make me fight for you. Like you're in a fight and I'm willing to jump in no matter who you're fighting, kind of thing.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So I was make a fire for the village, and then all the people hate me because I was escape, and then I escaped from the village, and then I met you at the forest, and then you uh poor me, like I was too poor to you, so that's why you care me, and then you fight for me, if that's okay.
Yeah, no, I like that.
Okay, so right, let's take some notes down about these as we go. Right, they can just go in this text area to help you remember. And what these do, right, is it just gives you a little bit of a starting point to jump off of in terms of how these characters relate to each other. And as we go, it starts to kind of draw things together, especially in a bigger group or when we do all of the rounds. Each of these questions kind of adds dimension to both characters and their relationships. But I think for now, maybe let's just say, Stephen, once you're done with your notes, if you want to pick a question to ask that we're hoping that that Esme will answer.
Okay, so my question is, why do you trust me so deeply?
I think maybe because we're both outcasts in some way, I kind of feel like, you know, that I understand what it's like to be in that position and to not really have things to lose in that regard. So I feel that I understand your motivations and where you come from, so I feel like I trust
Okay.
I like it. I like it. Yep.
you. Great.
So we can stop there. I'm also fine to talk a little bit more about how do we think these characters came to be, not just traveling together, but like being fantasy adventure heroes together, right? Are there things that one or another of you are trying to go towards or accomplish that the others might have gotten invested in, or are they just invested in you?
It almost seems like we have a wandering outcast kind of situation going. Like if I helped Steven as they were running away from the village that they set on fire, I guess at some point we meet up with Esme. Um, it seems like we're almost just like full-time adventuring, just like wandering around seeing the world. I like the idea of my character just being like having a sense of wanderlust.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe almost a little like tossed on the waves of fate.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So given that, now if you want to look at the Roll20, I've updated which page we're on. And this is a modified version of a tool from the main book, which is basically Mad Libs. And we're going to use this to establish what has happened in the story so far, and then kind of what our specific call to adventure is going to be about. And I wrote these prompts, but I don't know what's going to happen. And so I'm going to, uh, for ArvCon, I am going to do the high wire act of stitching the plot together live without really much of any other prep. So what we'll do here is I would invite folks to, well, basically we'll talking around, right? So I'll give an example. Prologue. Our story takes place within the kingdom of, and then we're looking at prompt number 1. This is Lausa, Jolnog, Bright Hallow, OVA, or Moxton, right? So this is just a name that gives us a vibe of which kingdom we're in. Does one of those sound appealing to somebody?
I'm sorry, could you just give us maybe a little more specifics about where in the interface we are?
Yeah,
Or
so
are we just listening to you?
in Roll20, oh,
Yep,
that's because the thing didn't move. That's my
gotcha.
bad.
There we go.
So now you should see like kind of parchment
Yes.
screen.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
So number 1 in that second section That's Lausa, Jolnag, Bright Hallow, OVA, Maxstan. That's the list we're picking from.
I kind of like Bright Hallow. I don't know.
Yeah,
How do people feel?
it sounds happy, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a
Yeah.
brightness. I like it. Yeah.
So why do you think this kingdom is called Bright Hallow? Is like, is there some place that is the Bright Hallow, or is it hallow, like hallowed by the gods, or like a holy place? What do we think?
Mm.
I almost like the idea of it being hallowed by the gods, but that was also the last one you said, so I don't want to
No, that's
stick with that. Um,
What if there's some what if that's like the belief, but what if it's driven by some sort of like interesting like geological feature? Like maybe
yeah.
there's something like all the rocks are sparkly or I mean that sounds kind of silly, but you know what I mean? Like there's some element of the terrain that makes people feel like it's blessed, even though it might not actually be.
Ooh,
yeah,
I like
right,
that.
Wow.
right.
Yeah,
And
I
Can
so
like that too.
the rocks glow, and from our perspective as people on the planet Earth, right, the rocks could glow for a mundane reason, or they could
Hmm.
glow for a magical reason.
Yeah.
And we don't have to decide which that is just yet. Maybe it'll come up in play.
Yeah.
Okay. So would somebody like to read that next section? Right. So it'd be, we are currently traveling through, and then give the options from number 2, just so I'm not doing all the reading here.
Okay, so I can read. We are currently traveling through either the Blue Wastes, the Narrow Spine, Join Spar, the Cursed Swamp, or the Everstorm.
Right. And I don't know anything more about these, right? We'll pick them and then figure out what they are.
I do like swamps. It's just going to be my thing. That sounds really exciting.
That was like the one I was like, oh, I hope we're not in the Cursed Swamp. That sounds
Oh.
horrible. No, we should do it. We should do it.
We're going to a brighter place, so it's okay.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
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 What do we think the curse is? Is it just that swamps are annoying and like scary to work through? Is there like some history that it has? Is there something it does to you if you go into it?
Ooh.
Maybe like an ancient battle or something happened on a
Yeah.
swamp, and you could still hear the voices of the people that are left behind. I mean, something along those lines. Maybe they can even interact with you, and especially if you're out at night, they like can do things to your caravan as it's traveling. People go missing.
Yeah, yeah.
Fantastic. A plus.
That's good.
Okay. So some extra danger in the cursed swamp is due to, and then Stephen, can you read the options for number 3?
Yeah, dangerous due to either packs of ghosts, desperate bandits, strange magics, and invisible hounds.
Ooh. I
Oh,
feel like Invisible Hound sounds really cool. I don't know. How do people feel? That
I
yeah,
seems,
yeah,
I agree.
yeah, okay,
I agree
awesome.
too.
Cool. All right. So that
And like maybe
is,
they could be friendly. We don't know.
Yeah, yeah, it doesn't clarify.
right. So that gives us some context. You all have been like traveling around. You're a bit tossed by fate. You're kind of looking for work or a place where you can get some food, or maybe some of you are seeking answers about things. But you will have gotten caught up in some big event that just happened, and we'll figure out what that is now. So after a recent night's catastrophic fire, attack by the Horde, terrifying storm, or assassination of the Queen, some other things will
Ooh.
happen. So what big thing do we want to have just happened that your characters were around, or not responsible for, but maybe kind of witness to?
Hmm. Well, I feel like catastrophic fire was part of Steven's character's backstory.
Yeah, do we want to
Um,
kind of underscore that again? How do you feel about that, Stephen?
Yeah, yeah. That sounds good. Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be
Although I
Okay.
guess
okay.
maybe that
Yeah.
wouldn't give us a lot of time to have become like besties. I don't know
Yeah.
if it was
Well,
what
I
happened
think
last night.
I think it would be a new fire,
Oh,
actually is what
okay.
I'm
Oh.
suggesting, right? And so
Okay.
then there would be like maybe more emotional resonance to it for Spark, because Spark has already gone through a big fire having an impact on, kind of home and community. How does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay. Um, we so the rest of the prompts don't give an explanation for why it happened. Why do we think, or how do we think this fire happened? Was it an accident? Was it the result of an attack? Is it a mystery?
I feel like it could be a mystery, and maybe that sort of cloud of suspicion or fear is kind of like hanging over people. Like we don't really know what happened, and so everyone's like, "Oh no."
Okay. Does that work for everybody?
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, are we imagining a group of like anarchists that are going around burning big magical places?
Oh
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
Or maybe it was Spark again. Who knows?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We know it's fantasy because in fantasy, anarchists have no ideology instead of a highly pronounced ideology that it gets misrepresented. Okay, so after the fire, something important has been damaged in this settlement. So if Brendan, if you want to read the options for number 2.
Yeah. A critical magical ward, healing well, enchanted bridge, or sanctuary cave has been damaged.
Right, so each of these would be important to this community in some way. What's the kind of the most important thing in the village that's been damaged that now creates a crisis for this community? Right, some award that
Yeah.
protects them against some other problem. um, or just to kind of give the context on that one. I think the others are sort of explanatory.
I like the idea of the enchanted bridge going down and just affecting logistics. Like
I
they
do too,
had
yeah.
one bridge for all of their shipping, and it's like where they were primarily getting tools, and yeah, just logistically they're no longer functioning. Um,
Yeah, right, like, yes, the bridge is magic, but mostly it's a way to get from A to B.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. To fix this, we will need to, and then Stephen, do you want to read the options for number 3?
Yeah, to fix this, we will need to either obtain a forgotten tomb of magic, enlist the recursive fire sage, and find I don't know, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce
This just
attitude.
a very silly fantasy language, ether quill, right? It's like
It's the
the
kill.
uh,
Okay.
all right, and I was imagining ether quill as like it's some kind of magic quill, and so like, oh, like penmanship and painting, and you bring things into reality. Maybe it's something like that, or maybe it's something totally different, right? So what's the important thing we need to do or get to address this, the damage from losing, or to maybe fix the bridge or replace the bridge?
I
Well,
feel
now that
like the magic tome is kind of feeds in subtle, but I don't know. What were you going to say, Brennan?
I was gonna say the quill, now that he's talked about this quill that brings things into reality, like maybe the
Oh,
previous
okay.
bridge is built specifically with this quill, and it's the only thing that can make a strong enough structure. So you need to like
Mm,
hunt down the quill again. But I also like the idea of the
yeah.
tome.
Well, what if it's not the actual bridge that broke? It was like the enchantment on it, and so it has to, and it maybe it's like written on the bridge, and so they need the quill to like rewrite it so that it becomes enchanted again.
I like that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like that
Awesome.
too.
Yeah, that's cool. So our story begins as we leave 4, and then this is option number 4, where we might find what we are looking for. So, Kat, if you want to read the options for number 4.
Sure. So, where we're going is Elseway's Tower, Void Lake, Midnight Market, or Lair of the White Baron.
And white is a type of undead for folks who are not neck deep in fantasy language.
Thank you.
So which of
Okay.
those, right? This is basically like we're going to go to whichever of these places we pick. So which one are you most excited about?
I think my character's all for adventure, and the idea of going to somewhere where an undead is living or
Mhm.
unliving sounds fun to me. That sounds like a good time.
Yeah, I feel like the it kind of makes sense with the quill. I think Void Lake also sounds very cool. That like,
It
what is a
does.
void lake? Like, is it the absence of a lake? Is it a lake full of void? I don't know. But I'm also cool with the White Baron. I feel like that it
Yeah, I
seems like a
like
reasonable
to.
place to find a quill.
Okay, so are we leaning Void Lake or White Baron on
I-
balanceful?
Honestly, I'm so curious if the lake is full of void or if it's a like a, a void space that's the size of a lake. I almost
Yeah.
want to go there first now.
So
Yeah.
we can square the circle. What if the lair of the White Baron is within slash under the Void Lake, right? That's what people say. So you'll have to figure out the Void Lake to get to the lair. Do we like
I
that?
love it.
Yes,
I
Yeah.
love
that's
it.
great.
Yeah.
Okay. So in the book, generally this calls for, it says, then take a 15-minute break. No, we are raising money for the Damon Runyon Cancer Research Foundation, and I'm going to do it live. And so we come in on the three adventurers as you are making your way through the cursed swamp, right? This village that you've just left is the one safe settlement within the cursed swamp. But to get to the Void Lake, you have to go through the rest of the cursed swamp to get over to this other location. And you have a roughly scribbled map given to you by the village elder, this kind of very very wrinkly but cheery golden woman. Draws a map for you because you all have volunteered to go and retrieve the Aether Quill, which was stolen by the White Baron. And so, as you're trudging through the cursed swamp, what do you think um, the most prominent but confusing smell is in the swamp, right? Because it doesn't necessarily have to be a normal swamp smell, because this is a cursed swamp. So, what are the smells that you think are dominating here as you're moving through the swamp?
I think my character catches a whiff of cinnamon rolls and is just so put off and confused that it really messes with them. Like they can't sleep. They're just thinking about cinnamon rolls all the time.
Uh-huh.
Not that they're hungry. It's just that they're like, why does the swamp smell like cinnamon rolls? Is a very big question.
Yeah.
I was about to say freshly baked cookies.
Yeah,
It's
that's a good
clearly
one.
a sign.
Yeah.
So is it a different baked good for each of you?
Funny.
Ooh, yes. And that's why it's so confusing because I keep being
Yeah.
like, it's chocolate chip cookies. What are you talking about?
Exactly.
So if we're doing with this, if we're going with this, what do you think Spark smells when the others are smelling cinnamon rolls and cookies?
Maybe, oh, something because it's baked, cinnamon and also like other baked. So maybe I feel just fire because it's baked. But like,
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah. Or maybe are you smelling like the like smoke
Sponge.
from a
Oh
fire?
yeah. Oh yeah, smoke. Yeah,
Okay,
I like that.
cool. So right, you're navigating through the cursed swamp. Have any of you tried to navigate a swamp before you came into the cursed swamp earlier this week? Do you think any of
Um,
you are good at moving through a swamp?
I
I
have like a experience of moving through rough terrain. I'm not sure like
Yeah.
if a swamp counts as rough terrain, but maybe.
Yeah. So, Ridgeborne, by default, we're mostly thinking about like rocky terrain and climbing, but
Gotcha.
I don't know, maybe it's not that different to be able to move through a swamp, right? You need your footing, you have to be able to like have the strength and certainty to move around. So maybe that does help. Do we think that means that Esme is leading the way for the group?
that would make sense to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would like because of how we established, Brendan, how your character works, right? We didn't focus as much on the druid stuff, but to honor the class choice that you made, right? I think you are it would stand to reason you're comfortable in a lot of different natural situations.
Yeah, that's the
Um,
sense I'm getting.
so do you feel like you are letting Esme lead the way because of some conversation you had, right? Are you consciously stepping back and letting her go first?
I think it's a lot of that. I think Esme is our fighter here and is the person who's going to lead the charge anyway. And I think my character honestly just out having a good time, like having a jaunt, like enjoying the swamp. Like I'm here for being out in nature after being town medic for a while. So I think having Esme like take charge and lead the way, yeah, my character's very fine with that.
Okay. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and call for our first roll. So to get out of the cursed swamp without losing time, that is something that is challenging enough to call for a roll, right? Maybe if you weren't being rushed, or maybe if it wasn't a cursed swamp, you wouldn't have to roll. But here I'm going to ask that you make a duality dice roll using your instinct trait, right? And so that's one of these traits. It's for perceiving, sensing, and in this case, navigation. Because you are Ridgeborn, you are going to get advantage. So if you click on that duality dice roll and then pull up the interface, if you find that green tab that says plus ADV, you can click on that and it's going to give you a six-sided die, like a standard board game die. And the total of that is going to be added to your roll. It's going to make it easier to succeed because you have the experience with rough terrain.
Do I need to spend a hope to do that, or is that because I think it was some kind of like ability. Okay.
Because that is a feature from your community.
Gotcha.
It does not have a hope cost. Using an experience would cost a hope, but the Ridgeborn is just something you kind of always get.
Okay,
right.
great.
That was part of your life growing up in this Ridgeborn community.
Okay.
And the difficulty for this is just going to be 12, which is exactly what you got.
Wow.
Right. Cool. And then can you tell me which of those dice was higher, just so we can get this for the audience?
My hope die was higher.
Right. So that's a 12 with hope. When we have a result with hope, you get what you want and just a little bit extra. In this case, you get a hope point. So you're going to go from 2, which was your starting, you're going to go up to 3 because you didn't have to spend a hope for that roll. And then if you're okay doing so, I'd love, Kat, for you to just kind of paint the scene a little bit, right? Take the microphone and tell us what it's like as Esme is leading you all through the cursed swamp.
Okay. Well, I feel like I I only barely made the roll, so I'm concentrating really hard. The smell of chocolate chip cookies is nearly overwhelming and confusing me a little bit. But I'm keeping my eyes peeled, well, I guess my ears peeled for invisible hounds, and stepping very carefully and making sure that, I am sort of very large. And so as long as like I can traverse an area, I know that Spark and Falcone will also be able. So I'm doing the thing, when you're biking where you like point out the potholes to the people behind you, making sure they're, they can make it okay. And I also am very conscious of the fact that we want to get through quickly. So I'm also trying to kind of keep a sense of where we are in space more broadly and make it through efficiently. All while being very hungry.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. Thank you. So as you're making your way, right, Esme is kind of assuredly leading you through the cursed swamp, and you feel like you're probably close to the edge of the cursed swamp when Spark, because you are a sorcerer, one of the features that you have is that you can just sense magic, right? Like it's a sixth sense. I'm curious, do you sense magic with all your senses, or do you hear magic, do you see magic, do you smell it, right? How does Spark experience the world of magic?
Um, I'm a sorcerer, so I just feel it. I only what I learn is the spell, but I just feel it naturally. So yeah,
Okay.
it's not smell, just like feel it. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think you get it's the feeling of like a dog's fur brushing up against your skin, right? How dogs with a thick coat, right? You can feel it is kind of soft, but there's a dimension to it, right? And you get the softness and then kind of the warmth of the body pressing up against you. But you're confident that it's not literally happening right now. It is how you're processing the presence of, obviously these are the invisible hounds. They are nearby. And you sense them, and then all three of you start to hear barking ahead as the ground kind of becomes more solid and you get into more kind of a standard forest. So you hear barking ahead, and Spark, you have sensed magic that you are pretty confident is invisible hounds.
Mhm.
Which of the three of you do you think most knows what type of barking is what, right? Like angry, excited, or something else? Which of the three of you knows dogs?
I feel like I'm really in touch with animals since
Yeah.
I'm a druid. Um, and I have to say, I was probably looking forward to seeing or like not seeing the invisible dogs through this whole trek.
Mhm.
While everyone else is worried about them, I'm like, oh no, they could totally be friendly, or at least I could talk to them. Not that I could actually talk to animals. Um, but yeah, I definitely am like stepping forward saying, oh, they're just happy to see us and
Yeah.
very confidently doing that.
Yeah. And so it sounded like Falcone is saying that these dogs are excited to meet you all.
Oh, I also like the idea that I'm not completely sure. I'm just
Okay.
saying like I just am like in my head they're excited to see us and that's why they're barking, but
Okay.
I've never met an invisible dog before, so this is a first for me as well.
Yeah. So we're going to, right, we're going to follow the three of you up, and you make your way around the bend, and you're on more rocky footing now, less kind of sludgy, swampy footing. And there's still trees around you, and you continue to hear the barking, and the barking gets a little bit louder and a little bit more frequent, but inconsistent, right? You hear more barks per moment, but it's not every 5 seconds. It's a little bit more erratic. And then you come upon a scene with kind of like what if a clearing in the woods, but it's actually just a big bog, right? So there's like this kind of slight small pit of mud, and what you see is mud that creates the rough outline of three dogs, right? These are dogs are invisible, but the mud isn't, and they're clearly distressed. So here I'm going to use a technique called paint the scene, and I'm going to ask each of you in order to say, how is it that you know the dogs are distressed and what is happening, right? So they're in this kind of condition. You know that they're unhappy. I've described some of what the bog is. What are the details that tells you all as a group that that these dogs are in distress and lets you know what is happening? So what's that first detail?
Maybe it's not barking, it's like a whimpering. Like we all know the sound of a distress, like a sad dog. Like I think as we get closer, we start to notice it's not actually barking, like loud, angry barking. It's just loud whimpering.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I think maybe the sort of like footprints that are appearing in the mud are sort of like at least like they look a little like pacing almost, like they're sort of moving around in an agitated way. It's not like a directed movement or, a sort of like laying down, happy, chilling kind of situation. It's like they're sort of like making a kind of crazy mess out of the mud.
Okay. And Stephen, what's another detail here?
Um, Maybe they feel unhappy, so maybe their body temperature is like increasing, and then maybe I can feel it like it's really like a mess, and then like they're moving, as Kat mentioned, like like moving around. So maybe that's why like, their entire like kind of temperature is increasing.
Yeah, like one of them is like twitching and another one is panting, right? So you see the mud moving in and out more frequently as it's kind of, the mud is on the dog's
Oh,
body
that,
as they're breathing.
that
Um,
more makes sense. Thank you.
this is going to be a group action role, right? And so if you all want to help these invisible hounds, it's going to take all of you working together. And the way that this works is the three of you pick somebody who's going to kind of be leading this action. And then the other two are going to make a special roll called a reaction roll that is about trying to help the person who's taking the main action. A reaction roll does not add hope or fear, but if you succeed the reaction roll, you'll give +1 to the main person. If you fail the reaction roll, you'll give a -1. And so that, therefore, this one main roll represents everybody's effort together. So I suppose first I should ask, do you want to help the dogs? It's kind of the heroic thing to do, but this is also a strange situation. How are you all reacting to the scene as you've seen it?
I feel like absolutely helping the dogs. Like, come on, invisible hounds, they're probably an endangered species in this world. Like, we have to try something.
I
Okay, so
think I'm very hesitant about it, but when I see how inspired Brendan is to do it, I'm like, okay, if
Yeah,
you want to do it, I will help you do it.
yeah, me too. I was a little bit afraid. So if Falcon is trying to do it, like I would try to protect him with my magic.
okay.
Right.
So it sounds, Brendan, like maybe Falcone is going to take point here.
Yeah, I think it makes sense with the instinct bonus too, if that's
Yeah.
what's being used.
So because you all are heroes, right, and you have some magic, let's double check some of your special abilities and see if any of these other things come into mind, right? Falcone is a gifted tracker. Domain effects for Spark. You have a special ward. And then for Esme, so Esme has an ability to do like a special push. So, Kat, if you wanted to reflavor that to try to like push a dog out of the mud, that's totally okay. You don't have to do that thing if you don't want to. We're just trying to fold in some other things. For Brendan, what do you think Falcone's overall approach for getting the dogs out? Is this more about calming them? Is it about like pulling them out just with brute force? Some other approach? You get to pick which of your traits you get to use here.
Interesting. Um, I was thinking of going in and on it, obviously starting with pets, and then just trying to coax them, maybe with some like light pushes and shoves to try to get them out of the middle of this bog and into more like solid land that seems to be less distressing.
Okay.
Um, and the trait, I mean, I see some features like I could heal if I had enough hope. I could regenerate for a creature. Um, I don't have enough hope, so that's kind
So
of irrelevant.
for this, I want to look at the 6 traits at the top of your sheet, right?
Okay.
So that's agility, strength,
Yes.
finesse, instinct, presence, knowledge.
Oh.
Presence would probably be the one for an approach that's more about like calming and soothing and coaxing.
Maybe I want to go something more like trying to figure out what's wrong with them exactly, because I have
Yeah.
high instinct. I'm good with that.
Okay.
And I have really bad presence. So let's go for that. I just want to figure out what's wrong with them. I go approach, maybe not trying to calm, just like giving them soft pats while I'm really just trying to understand what exactly is wrong.
Okay. So that's the main thing that you're doing. Um, Stephen, it sounded like you were saying that Spark was going to use magic to protect Falcone. Could you describe a little bit more about how and what magic Spark is doing in this moment to protect his friend?
Yes, so my magic is basically make a barrier using my rune. So by giving him my rune, and then he can, so by spelling myself, and then basically make a barrier for Falcon. So whenever like invisible dogs attack him, I can protect him.
Yeah, right. So if they get scared and kind of lash out with a bite, he'll be protected. So for this, what I'm going to have you do is make a roll using your instinct because instinct is your spell casting trait, right? When you're doing magic, and we're kind of defaulting back, we're going to use instinct. So if you want to make a roll with that, um, you can add an experience if you want, right? If you think that one of those experiences would apply, but to do that, you would spend a hope. You don't have
Okay.
to. You already have a pretty good +2, and the difficulty for this is just 10. So you already have a pretty good chance.
Okay. I'm gonna. Am I doing right?
So that's a different die than what we're going to have you use. So if you can find the yellow and blue dice circle toward the bottom of your interface, if you kind of scroll down within the demiplane tab,
Oh yes.
Yeah, so if you click on that, and then it'll say duality, click on duality.
Yeah.
And then because your instinct trait is +2, go ahead over to the plus button and make sure that that number reads as 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you wanted to use an experience, that you would spend a hope, and we talk about the experience, then you'd add another +2, but you're already at pretty good chance to succeed. So you don't need to use it if you don't want to.
Okay, then just click plus D8. Is that correct?
Yeah, so if you want to leave the +2 and then go ahead and push the button for roll.
Okay.
And then it should show up in here. Let's see. Yeah, so if you push or click on the purple bar that says roll, if you haven't.
I did.
Should just
Oh.
be below the plus or minus section.
Yeah, I clicked the duality, and then there's a duality roll, there's a 6 hope, and then 7. But it didn't show up in this roll 20.
So you see the numbers on your side, but it didn't show up in roll 20?
Yeah.
Okay, so could you give us that total and which
Yeah.
of hope or fear was higher?
So the total is a 13, hope is 6, and fear is 7.
Okay, so that's
Yeah.
a 13 with fear.
Yeah.
Because this is a reaction roll, the 13 is the important one. I just want to get us into the practice of doing number with fear. So that is a successful assist. Kat, how is Esme helping?
I am gonna push. I'm gonna use my strength to push.
So because you have forceful push, I'm going to say if you want to spend a hope, you could gain advantage on this assist roll. But that total bonus you give is only going to be a +1 unless you get a critical. So this might not be the best time to use it.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna, would I add my strength
Yeah,
modifier
because
to it?
right,
Okay.
you were describing something that uses strength, so we'll use the strength trait.
Okay, then I'll just do that because I'm still a little skeptical about these dogs.
Yeah.
Okay. I got an 11 with fear.
Okay, so 11 is equal to or greater than 10. And hilariously, these rolls with fear are not generating fear.
That's great.
We'll get there in a moment, right? Things will start well, and then they maybe will get a little bit more challenging. So, Brendan, now Falcone is going to get to make that roll with another +2. So you get to have your instinct of 2 and then another +2 because both of your allies were successful in helping you.
Excellent. That's a lot of bonuses.
But the difficulty for this is going to be 13.
Oh.
And you got
Oh.
a 20.
I accidentally rolled twice, but yes, I did get a 20.
Okay, yeah.
With hope.
20 with hope. So this goes really well. Why don't you go ahead and take the mic and kind of describe how Falcone leading the whole group resolves this situation?
Yeah. So I'm not calming them. We just kind of I grasp and maybe guide one of the dogs, the invisible hounds, away the whole time thinking, wow, this is so weird. I can't see the thing, but I'm moving it in the mud. And I'm watching Esme just kind of aggressively push a dog out of the mud. And I'm like shaking my head as that's happening, but still appreciating that, all the help here, feeling very protected, thanks to Spark. And the dogs, once they're moved, you realize, wow, they really were trapped. Maybe we see like some things in their paws that were like some, maybe a trap of some sort, like a mechanical trap that's locked around their paws or something. And as we're moving them, can we take them off? Is that allowed since we got a
Yes,
good
yeah, you
roll?
got a really good roll, so keep going.
Okay, so we take the traps off. The whimpering goes more into like excited dog barking sounds. And in my head, I'm like, oh, I have an invisible hound friend now. This is great. Maybe they'll come as backup in a future fight. Um, but yeah, they're just kind of hanging around now after having a trap removed from their ankles. I don't think, can any of us heal? I don't, do they have health we should worry about? Oh,
I think somebody mentioned, I think as a renewal druid, you have a healing option.
Ooh, very
It should
expensive
be,
one.
yes.
So maybe we'll just leave the dogs as is and hope that they do better now.
Yeah, and right, you can do some basic first aid because the roll was so high.
Oh.
So these invisible dogs are going to be okay as long as they don't get themselves into trouble again. And as you get the last one out, and you've got right there's a trap on a chain. Um, Esme, while you're kind of pulling the chain, you feel that there's something heavy on the other end.
Mhm.
Now it's down in that bog. Um, so pulling it out might mean that something else comes out with whatever is on it. So it's not without risk, but you're pretty confident that you can pull it out.
Oh, I'm definitely gonna pull it out.
Okay. So you're pulling and pulling, and um the other side of this chain is wrapped around the arm and kind of latched or like fantasy carabinered basically to the belt of a deceased dwarf.
Ooh.
And this dwarf looked like maybe a messenger, like they seem sort of also mercenary-ish to Esme, right? A little bit of a rough looking sort. And Spark, you can tell that one of the things that this dwarf is carrying is like an enchanted protected scroll case that you put like a magic scroll or a message into, right? And it's tucked really tight into the kind of the dwarf's embrace. It looked like this dwarf died trying to protect or hold on to that scroll case going into the bog. Um, and there is definitely something inside the scroll case, and we're going to find out about that message when we get back from our short break. Right,
No,
this is just
yeah,
go ahead.
okay. How can I investigate those messages? Sorry.
Yeah, so we'll do
Yeah,
that right when we get back to the message. So I'm just going to tease you a little bit for a couple
okay.
minutes while we're on our break. For folks who are watching, a break for us is also a break for you. So take a couple minutes, grab a beverage, grab a snack, refresh yourself, and then come back as we find out what's in that message and see if these three heroes can get the Aether Quill so that the enchanted bridge can be restored. Right, and Greg will take us to commercial using the magic of production.
All right. I am magically producing as we speak. Thank you. I will mute those folks in Zoom. There we go. All set. Good. Want to make sure I was not occupying myself. I will also mute myself in Zoom. You folks are good. Now I will come back on here. Studio mode. Now activate camera. I know that you're there somewhere. There we are. That's right. Oh, and also there's that and there's that. Yeah, I can run production. I'm a professional streamer. What's going on, everybody? So yes, thank you so much. Very, very entertaining so far. Really been enjoying listening to these folks do this. As always, there's always this thing where we get people who are like, well, I haven't done much with tabletop, or I don't really know, I'm not sure. And they're like game to do it, but they're always like, well, I'm sort of just starting it. And then they're always awesome. Like, it must be something about being awesome scientists that are doing amazing work in cancer research that connects to this. So, but we are here as these folks are on their break, and we have passed over the $4,000 mark. We are now at $4,015.90, so $4,015.90, which means that we are now $984.10. That's what it is. $894.10 from our goal of 5,000. And we have got less than 2 hours left, folks. About just an hour and 45 minutes. About 2 hours, because I'm going to be wrapping. It'll finish about 6:15, 6:20. So we have about 2 hours left. So now is the time to get on board. Please spread the word. Please let everybody know. Please get everyone involved. Bring people over as much as we have to this point. point. And don't forget, and the books that people can win. What is the current donation? Oh, yes. Yes, in the Icarus Grey Assassin Trilogy combo, this is a physical set of my books. It is my award-winning Icarus graphic novel, along with my award-winning trilogy, the Grey Assassin Trilogy, which just concluded last year with the last book, Heretic, which was blurbed by such incredible notables as people from Skiffy and Fanti and Paul Weimer, just saying there may have been some people who were associated with that who may have been invested in this chat. And yes, I will absolutely ship overseas. Yes, I can do that. I will have to work out with you, Big Boss. It might be one of the like media mail 7th class so that I don't have to pay, $300 to ship it. But yes, I can do that for sure. And it would be honored to do so. And so, yeah, you can get that physical set sent to you. And if you're like, this is awesome, but I want other things, I want other donations, I want other things involved with them, then I would encourage you all to donate, because every time we get to another $100 donation limit, or level, 4,100, 4,200, etc., we're going to get more of those donations. When that happens, we will get more giveaways as well. And as I said, we are now less than $1,000 away from the $5,000 goal. And I really would love to be able to hit this. If we can hit this goal, it means that we will have passed $40,000 since we began this event 11 years ago. We have had so many good vibes and so much good turnout, and people just with having lots of fun with each other and all this today, with the last few days over the course of the weekend, that I really want this to continue. I should mention, by the way, that all of those books were brought to you by, over there, not Catalyst, but next to it, Athos Arts, which is one of my publishers that does wonderful work out of Michigan. And you should definitely check them out, because that would be great. Now, a couple other notes that I want to make for folks, since we had some questions being asked. Now, you all know my feelings about raisins. You all know that I have had the experience before of having to eat a box of raisins on stream. It was a little snack box. It wasn't great. Now, I did it, and I did it because my deep and abiding love for the Damon Runyon Cancer Research Foundation. I would do it again if I had to. We don't talk much about those dark times. Those times when I was asked to eat a snack box of raisins. It was difficult because every raisin that I ate, I looked down into this box, which was about this big maybe, and saw that there were more. And also they stuck together, because not only are they terrible, they're also not easy to eat. Like everyone's, oh yeah, they're simple because the little children can eat them. No, little children don't mind getting their hands messy when they just, but I am not a little child. Okay. So for me, yeah, raisins go down. They go down into the garbage can so easy. But having said all of that, I will do it, chat, if we get donations that will bring us to the 5K level. Now, I don't do this is not ham. Ham is delicious, says Terma. You know what isn't? Raisins. Okay? That's what I'm saying. No, I'm not. No. And okay, now this is funny, Triffid, okay? Because this is actually a story that I'm going to tell. My father, when I was young, was trying to help teach me how to take a pill. A pill that you're not supposed to chew, right? And so he was like, look, it's easy to do, whatever. So he tries it with this multivitamin, except the multivitamin that he tries is, I kid you not, the size of this token. This is like an escape room token. So he's like a horse pill, yeah. So he's like, all right, I'll show you how to do it. And I'm just watching him, and he's like, and he's not actually choking, but he's like, it's not working, right? And he's just like, so finally, after about 15 seconds of this, he gives up, and I'm just like, and he's like, all right, listen, we'll come back to this another time. So that is what I'm talking about, all right? That's the experience that we have here with these raisins. It was very funny. It was very funny in retrospect, but it was just like, oh man. Anyway, but all seriousness, with all seriousness, if we get past 5,000, now we have to get past 5,000, okay? But if we get past 5,000, then I will have on stream a snack box, okay? Not a big bag, a snack box. Yes, $5,000 and 1 cent counts, but it's got to be this big, okay, snack box. And I'm going to regret it again. But I will do it because this is important. Because I genuinely care about Damon Runyon. So obviously we have all kinds of other reasons to donate. But if one of your reasons is I want to see Arv be miserable, quote unquote, on stream, you know what? Hits full screen, so it looks like a bigger box. Yeah, a box like this, and it's like this big. Yeah, no, it's a snack box. It's like a this size. It's like that size, But whatever. A raisin cookie. Okay, I'll tell you what, Critchwitch. I'll tell you what. I will eat a raisin cookie on stream if we hit 6,000. And I'm telling you right now that is the equivalent of saying that I will punch myself in the face, call myself a Knicks and Yankees fan, and then pretend that the New England Patriots are a great team instead of a frustrating team that I wish would lose to my Pittsburgh Steelers. Okay? I will eat a raisin. They have a raisin cookie at that same cafe. It's not the oatmeal chip one, but I will eat a raisin cookie on stream if we hit 6,000. Sorry, Prince Justin. I'm a Celtics and Red Sox fan. I can't get on board with the Yankees. Sorry. I am a Steelers fan. Long time. I actually have been a Steelers fan since like 83. I became a Steelers fan before I became a Red Sox fan, which happened in 85. And I was a Whalers fan, Hartford Whalers fan until they left. Bring back the whale. But yeah, because I grew up in Connecticut and like I was kind of between, I didn't want to be a Giants or Jets fan. I was like too far north. And like the Patriots were like not a thing at the time in the 80s. I was like, I mean, they got to a Super Bowl, but then they got destroyed. I wasn't connecting with them. So when I became more of a sports fan, and it's sort of embarrassing, I got a Steelers jacket. And then I was like, this seems cool. And then I found out about their history. I'm like, this is really cool. And most of my teams tend to be teams with a lot of history associated with them. The Pittsburgh Steelers, the Boston Celtics, the Boston Red Sox. These are all teams with lots of history. The University of Connecticut Huskies, the greatest college basketball school of all time. Also my alma mater. So that's the deal with that. Yes. So it's going to do that. So a raisin for every $50 after we hit 5,000. That's not a bad idea. A raisin for every $50. Maybe. Sorry, just writing some notes. So anyway, 50 is too much. Say 20. Wait. A raisin for every $50. Do you know how much? What do you mean? It's what? A raisin? Drew, do you know the impact each individual raisin has upon my not only stomach but my psyche? Right. A raisin for every $50. Not a raisin for every 20. That's you. I mean, a raisin? No. Denied. Veto. I'm not doing a raisin for every $20. No, I will do a snack box of raisins when we hit 5,000, and I will eat an oatmeal raisin cookie against my own incredibly better judgment if we hit 6,000. Okay? But I, under no circumstances, will be eating a raisin every $20. It makes you poop. Yeah. See, as if there was any other like bad reason not to do this. But in all seriousness, folks, let us please continue the donation train. So far, so good. But we have more money to raise today. So let us do that. I'm not lying. I will do the things that I have said, which is not per $20. It's per 50. And that's if we get to 5,000. That's once we get to 5,000. And it's a snack box. Okay. But for all sorts of reasons, this is important. So I'm going to, as soon as the folks are ready, and I think they're almost ready to come back here, I will switch back over to them. But I do want to mention, in the meantime, don't forget that we have got all of this cool stuff happening, that various, all sorts of very cool giveaways and things like that, which are happening, that you can be a part of yourself. If you are willing to donate. So I want to hear that ta-da noise going off quite a bit as we move into the second segment here, as we move into this mix. So I'm going to put that there. I'm going to put this donation amount as soon as I can find where I put it. There it is. Put that up there. Also, this has been a very entertaining session on top of everything else. All of you are delightful and fun people, but it's also been fun to watch these people doing their thing. So, okay, so there we are. I apologize for anyone I might have interrupted. Here we go. We are set to go. We have been having a rollicking debate, I would say, in chat about what exactly happens with these donations. Currently, the discussion is having me eat a snack box of raisins, and then eating an oatmeal raisin cookie if we get to a certain number. And if you've watched my stream and know my general hatred for these desiccated husk fruits known as raisins, you'll know that this is a significant issue for me. But I'll do it because that's how much I love Damon Runyon. And of course, if there weren't any other reason, you should do it because these folks are amazing and having a great game. So I will hand things back over to Mike while I try to negotiate with my chat against my incredible better judgment. So over to you, Mike.
Hi, chat. Welcome back. We are playing Daggerheart, the fantasy adventure game from Critical Role's Darrington Press, with three fantastic scientist fellows of the Damon Runyon Cancer Research Foundation. We have raised just over $4,000. Our goal is $5,000. And what I say to you, chat, is these heroes have had it too easy, and I'm sick of it. So what I want to hear from you all is that you're going to be donating to the Damon Runyon Cancer Research Foundation so that not only does Greg have to eat raisins, but you are going to give me the firepower to raise the stakes and really put the screws to these heroes as we come to the end of this weekend. And so I want to see that number getting updated. I want to see Greg messaging me in the DMs on Zoom going, "Oh my goodness, there's so many new donations." So that by the time I'm done working with these heroes about this message that they've just found in a magically enchanted and protected scroll case, I know that I have your support in making this story more intense, more exciting, so that everyone has a good time. So while I wait for you all to make the good decision of making these donations, but don't donate if it's like going to create an economic hardship for you, like just I'm hamming it up, right? Just fourth wall drops real quick. Like don't bankrupt yourself for this. That's very silly. Okay, we're back up. You found this scroll in a enchanted case carried by this deceased dwarf who had been sucked in by this bog at the edge of the cursed swamp. And you would have never known about it had you not responded to the worried and pained barks and then cries of those invisible hounds. But now, with the hounds kind of happily kind of recovering and gathering their sorts, dogs do the shake thing, right, where they try to get all the rain off of them. Some of that mud is now on all of you. Hopefully you're fine with that. The dogs are moving on to do the rest of their day. They were invisible, but actually totally sweet, leaving you with this message. And Stephen, it sounded like you were going to open and take a look at this letter, this message. So what this is right. You pop off the one side, pull out. You can feel that the Right? The scroll itself has some kind of magic of preservation on it, which makes sense, right? You would want to make sure that your message arrives where it is meant to be. And as you pull open the scroll, I want to throw this back to you all as the players. This is a message for the White Baron. It's a message the White Baron very much wants to receive. It maybe says something or promises something or includes the deed to something. What is the message, or what is the message about that the White Baron really, really wants to see or hear, but hasn't because this message was lost? Does that something come to mind?
Could you maybe give us a little more context about like
Yeah,
who
so
the White Baron is? Yeah.
absolutely, right. So the White Baron is a undead warrior who was the lord of a keep, and that keep fell into the swamp, but it was the origin of this curse. And so not only did the keep fall into the swamp, but it fell into the swamp and into a pocket world, like another dimension that abuts up against ours. And the void lake is the gate or the door between those dimensions. And when you go into the void lake, you're going to be able to find this keep where the White Lord dwells. And you can move back and forth, but this White Lord was a proud warrior who refused to bow a knee to a kind of a warlord who was sweeping up and was, in fact, the founder of this kingdom, right? This is centuries and centuries ago. So we have this undead, eternal warrior who refused to bow the knee, and for his temerity and pride, was kind of sent away to kind of an eternal exile in this magical pocket dimension, right? He has an undead court of the people who were his subjects. And part of the curse is that they might leave the keep, they might come out of the void lake, but they can never leave the cursed swamp.
Hmm. What if, oh no, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna go with like a message about maybe the White Lord is thinking of ways that they could possibly escape, and like has been like contacting a lot of magic users and getting like all the ideas of thought around this, and someone has a solution for how they could touch the real world, and that's what the message is about.
And what if it actually involves this quill that we're supposed to be going to get? Because then
Yeah.
that kind of raises the stakes a little bit, right? Because we're like,
Oh yeah.
not only do we need to go get this, but also we can't let him know that thing, like maybe he doesn't really care about it. Like maybe that was just sort of like some kind of like act of, long ago that he was just kind of like collecting stuff that might be useful. And it turns out that whatever this solution is involves the quill. And so we don't want him to find out about that because then he'll like pay more attention to it. And we need it for the bridge.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, sounds great.
So not only is all of that true, but as the three of you are huddled around the message, you learn two more things. One, the messenger refers to being pursued by the Fire Conclave, which is an organization of kind of elemental magicians and ritualists who believe that fire is a purifying, consuming force.
Can we just note that my character is like side-eyeing Spark as we're reading this and like hearing this? I'm just like, do we need to talk about anything?
But then, Falcone, your attention turns to another thing as you realize that this letter was written by Leonard, your mentor.
Ooh, dramatic. Okay.
But
Ooh.
the way that people are talking makes it sound like this wasn't written last year. This was maybe written 30 years ago, back when Leonard was maybe living another life before he ever came into yours.
Yeah. Okay.
So how are your characters reacting to the revelations from this message that you've uncovered?
I- Well, I could just say my character's shocked by seeing Leonard's name, but is already thinking of a question we all need to talk about. And are we going to kill the Lord is like, I guess, the question on my mind, and I need to ask, like, we should go in with like clear intentions.
Yeah.
Is that our game plan?
Now I'm feeling morally conflicted about it because I'm like, well, he's undead, so he's probably bad news, but also, I don't know, doesn't really seem like he maybe necessarily did any. We don't have any like strong and clear evidence that he did anything wrong really other than like old things that like maybe he uh did, but we don't actually know that, right? Now I'm like questioning the nature of my reality a little bit, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right. Because go ahead, Stephen.
yeah, my reaction is I was fascinating the fire, and then I wanted to like chasing the fireworks, like where they basically from. But at the same time, I also afraid like regarding that. So and then I think ask me is trust me, and then if I wanted to like go there, and then maybe can you help me to protect me also, like moving forward to investigating that more? If that makes sense. I don't know.
Yeah. So
But
what?
I
Go ahead.
think also as we're sort of like sitting here and maybe like Falcone's having this kind of like internal debate about what's going on. I'm like maybe losing my patience a little bit. Like I'm kind of like, let's just go. Like, I don't know. We'll figure it out when we get there.
I think Falcone agrees with that. Let's get there. I think the whole time it's like I'm just mumbling to myself, like, are we gonna kill? Are we killing the thing when we get there? Or what are we doing? Um,
I think we just need to find the pen. Like, let's not
yeah.
overcomplicate it.
Okay.
We'll
Okay.
just burn this
Yeah.
note so no one ever knows it happened. We'll go get the pen and we won't worry about it.
Yep.
Perfect.
So are you keeping the message with you as you go? Or
I
do you
think
want to
we
leave
should
it in the
burn it.
swamp? Burn it.
Ooh, I think we should burn it. I think that Spark should get a little sparky with it and try to
Yeah,
burn it.
I can burn it up because otherwise it make us like complicated. Like let's burn it up.
Yeah, I like this. Then
Yeah.
we don't even need to worry about the White Lord getting into this land. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
So because I mentioned that it was magically protected, I think this actually will be not hard, but is something that I'm going to ask Spark to make a roll for, right? It's going to be the force of your will and your fire against the protection of this message. Because if you don't burn it, then it could make its way back to the fire to the White Baron, should you kind of survive your encounter, right? And then does that then get back to you that you didn't deliver this message? Maybe those things are running through your head as you summon this power. So when you use your elemental magic, right, let's take a look at what you can do. So you can shape this magic into harmless effects, and you can spend a hope and describe how your control over the element helps an action you're about to take, which would give you a bonus. So the action to do this would be a spellcast roll. And if you wanted to kind of spend a hope to kind of boost that power, you absolutely can, because this is about the strength of your magic fire.
Yeah, I wanna use it. I wanna do
Okay.
that. Yeah.
So if you want to click that box that says one hope, it'll spend a hope for you.
Mhm.
And then you'll make a roll with instinct, and you're going to
Mhm.
add another +2. So it should be a total of +4.
Yeah, I just click it. Yep.
Okay. And then if the roll doesn't end up coming back to the roll 20, you'll just need to tell us the total and whether it's with hope or fear.
So yeah, I just click the hope in my elemental list.
Yep. And then you'll want to click the 2 dice icon to do a roll,
Got it.
right? And so you click that and then click duality, and then you'll click the plus until you're up to +4, because you've got 2 from your instinct and 2 from the fire feature in your elementalist
Yep.
ability. And
Okay.
then you could apply an experience here as well if you wanted to really increase the roll. I think this is going to be harder. This is a 15 that you're trying to get to, but you've already got +4, which is really good.
Okay. So then I'm gonna click the goal.
Yeah. So if you just want to roll, press the purple
Yep.
button and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I just click it. Can you see my? Maybe it's not linked. I can tell you, like, the total number is a 17, hope
Nice.
is 11, and fears are 4 with hope.
Okay. And did it include your +4 bonus?
I include a +2 bonus.
Okay, you'd have another +2 because you used the elementalist ability.
Got it. Yeah, okay, I read again. Yeah, so reward is total number is a 19, 5 hope, and 10 fears.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you hit the number you needed of 15, but
Yeah.
on a roll with fear, I will make a move.
Okay.
So when you burn, right, you start to burn this message and you have to push it a bit, right? Not the hardest thing that you've done, but you feel that your magic as an extension of your will and you're applying control, which is a kind of different than that kind of fateful day when the fire spread throughout your village. But here you are in control and the scroll burns bit by bit. But in the ash, you see a shape that kind of coalesces into what looks like an elemental of smoke. And that elemental speaks in a voice like a crackling fire and says, "You would interfere with our realm. All shall be within our domain, and you mortals shall burn." And the
Oh.
word burn echoes from every direction, and all three of you can hear this. And I want each of you to mark a stress as you kind of get this booming kind of threat from what you I imagine at least Spark would know has to be a member of that fire conclave group of elementals. So they had some attitude about what was going on, and something in how that enchantment worked let this get back to them, and they know what you've done.
Well, I guess we better be quick.
Okay. So here I will use, or I'll give you a moment. Did you have any other reactions you wanted to share, other moments with those three before we move on in your reactions to the smoke?
I'm certainly asking. We all heard that voice, right? Like that wasn't just me. This is someone needs
Yeah.
to vocal.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but I wouldn't worry. It's probably fine.
Probably
Just-
fine.
Yeah, probably fine.
I'm just gonna say on that scale of killing the White Baron, I'm putting some points into we're killing the White Baron when we get there.
Okay.
Just
I'm generally afraid, but yeah.
we're just going to clear the deck, and then none of this is our problem anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's gone.
Okay.
I do feel, oh, also, I feel bad that I suggested that Stephen do it because it clearly upset him. And I didn't really think about the fact that it might sort of be upsetting to him to have to like use his magic in that way. And then also to have somebody have some strange consequence come from it that seems almost directed at him. So I also feel guilty about that.
Do you think does that guilt just stay internal? Does Esme express that in some way or bring it up in a conversation?
No, I think she's probably not very good at vocalizing that, but maybe later on I'll like do something that I wouldn't normally have done because of that guilt.
Okay. So maybe think about what that might be. We're going to go ahead and cut ahead to the three of you standing on the edge of the Void Lake. And there's a few things that are strange and cool about the Void Lake. One is that it is perfectly, unerringly still, like glass. There is no, minor ripple of waves. There is no disturbance of animals. It is clear, such that you can see down far beyond where the light should go. Even full daylight shouldn't be able to get as far as it does, and it is twilight for you nearly night. But as you look down, reflected as if inverted, you see kind of an island that is not there on the surface, right? It's just the lake. And you see a crumbling fortress in an old style, right? So if we were in the 1400s in England, what you would be seeing is like a Roman fortification, right? Centuries old, if not more than a millennium. And that inverted fortress flies a tattered flag with heraldry that has not been seen in the mortal realm in generations upon generations, to the point where if one of you knows the heraldry of this kingdom, this would look like it comes from a totally different place, because that baron flew this flag before this kingdom was a kingdom. Knowing that the Void Lake is still and clear, what other strange sights do you think the three adventurers notice looking down in the Void Lake? Whether they are animals or coral or other vegetation or something that's in a lake that shouldn't be in a lake.
I think I noticed that although it's like because the sky should be reflected in the lake because there's a little bit of light left and the stars are starting to come out. You can see the coloration of the sky in the lake, but you can't see any of the stars. It's almost like they've been like swallowed up. Um, and there's a weird effect with like sound where like if you speak directly towards the lake, it's almost like muffled, like you're speaking into like a pillow or something. But if you turn your head to the side and we talk to each other, then you can still hear things. So there's sort of like a weird sort of wave phenomenon happening over that sort of like eats up all the sound.
Cool, yeah.
I was thinking about my character kind of like picking up some rocks maybe that they found along the side of the lake and trying to drop them in and noticing that when they drop, they don't sink as if it's a normal like lake with water. They kind of like pop back up and they like almost like it's reflecting matter from this world. Um, if I'm allowed to affect the physics at all here.
No, that's great. I like it.
Sparks has a like curiosity whether this is as Falcon did, maybe make a small fire, like small spark, and then see whether we can see in the lake, the beneath, what kind of things in it using the fire, whether and also whether the physics works, like the refraction is working. I'm trying to like using the curiosity to understand what's going on inside.
Yeah, so sorry, are you trying to light a fire within the lake?
No, not in the lake, above the lake to see the refraction, and then
Oh, okay.
also look at it inside of the lake.
Yeah. That's really cool. And so I'm going to use that as an opportunity to do mean things to you.
Okay.
So when you summon a fire, the light that it casts, how it should reflect on the light, none of that is what actually happens. The light and the fire, because the fire is made of magic, it is as if are you all familiar with the sculptures by the artist Chihuly? It's like a glass sculptor. So Chihuly does glass sculptures, and a lot of the shapes that they take are kind of like flames. And so I'm imagining if you look at a flame, right, and there's a part that's orange and a part that's yellow and a part that's white, if you pulled those apart into almost like tentacles, that's what's happening with this fire. But those tentacles are lashing out in every direction because something in the magic of the curse with this void lake, or the attention of the fire conclave on this area. You may not be totally sure why just in this moment, and that might be because I need all of you to make an agility reaction roll to avoid being lashed by whips of fire as um, Spark, your magic is being like manipulated or rebounding against you in some unknown way it shouldn't be. So for each of the three of you, I want you to make a duality dice roll using your agility trait But because this is a reaction roll, you're not going to get hope or fear. But if you succeed, you will avoid taking damage. And if you fail, you will take damage. What I
What
will
is
note,
success?
the difficulty for this is going to be 13.
Oh, okay.
And I will note for Spark, because you are because you have the elf and ancestry, you can mark a stress to gain an advantage on a reaction roll, right? Elves kind of like have preternatural reflexes. So if you wanted to emphasize that here, you could mark a stress and then take that advantage extra d6 on this roll, making it less, more likely that you would avoid the damage.
Wow. Okay, I got a 21 on that.
21, very good.
Yes. And let it
I
be
got a
known,
4.
I'm like yelling spark the whole time that I'm jumping around trying to dodge this.
I just got like a full jet of fire directly to the face.
Oh,
I did get hope though, so
I got number 12, 9 hope and 3 fear.
Okay, so only Falcone will avoid this. And to do this, because because I was basically just pulling a mean move, I'm spending a fear to do this, right? So I had 3 fear. I now have 2 fear, but I wanted to just complicate things a little bit for you. For Esme and for Spark, the folks who did not succeed, I'm going to roll some dice, and that's going to give me a total, which is going to be damage that your characters are going to take, and then we'll talk about taking damage. All right, so I roll 2d8, and I got a total of 6. So for your characters, I want you to go up and let's go to HP, stress, and armor as the interface that you're dealing with. And I want you to tell me, Spark, I'm gonna do something to make the numbers work for you, if you'll allow me real quick.
Yep.
Because you are wearing your armor. Okay, great. So for Esme and Spark, how does 8 compare to your thresholds, right? Those 2 numbers along the purple line that say minor damage, major damage, severe damage.
the 8 is the number between minor and major for me.
Okay. All right. So that would be major damage for you. And Stephen, how about for Spark?
Yeah, mine is like lower than 6, so it's a minor damage. Like 6 minus like 3 armor, so that's a 3, which is a minor damage.
So it's not quite how armor works.
Oh, okay.
So 8 is equal to or higher than that 6. So this would be major damage. So it would be major damage for each of you, but you do have armor. So what you can do is you can mark one of your armor slots, and instead of marking 2 hit points for major damage, you would mark 1 hit point for minor. So you'd end up marking 1 armor and 1 HP. That armor score tells you how many times total you can use your armor before it has to be repaired.
Got it. It's that number. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Where did the 8 come from?
So the 8 is what I rolled for damage.
Okay. Oh, I
Right,
thought you
so-
rolled 6.
I'm a liar, yes. So I looked at the number and then I looked at your sheet. So what this means is that 6 is major damage for Spark, but it's minor damage for Esme because Esme is tougher as a guardian. And what that means is that you can mark 1 HP for Esme, or you can mark an armor and no HP.
Can I try to like maybe reach out and block some of Sparks just because I still feel a little bit guilty about what happened earlier? And I don't know, is there some kind of mechanic where I could try to like absorb some of the damage for him or something like that?
Yeah, so
That's so sweet.
there are abilities that will do that. Because I built you a Vengeance Guardian, the Vengeance Guardian is more offensively oriented than
I see.
defensively oriented. So I didn't end up giving her there's an ability called I Am Your Shield that would in many cases lets you be able to kind of protect an ally. But for this time, I didn't give her that ability, so you wouldn't be
Okay.
able to do that at this moment.
Okay. All right. So I'm just going to mark one. I'm not going to do the armor because this is like small potatoes. So
Okay.
I'll just do 1 HP.
And Stephen, for Spark, did you want to use armor?
Yes, so I mark 1 armor, and then I also use the 1 mark the HP. Is that work, or just mark only my armor?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
So when you use armor, right? Armor, when we write it down, we say this is a gambeson, this is leather armor. We talk about like the physical thing, but because Daggerheart is a collaborative game, armor can be a lot of different things, right? So for a sorcerer, armor could be like layered wards, right? Or it could be enchanted gear. And for a guardian, the same thing could apply. Often we do emphasize the physicality of the armor because the guardian is not a magical casting class. But for each of you, right? Like, what does taking this look like, right? How are you reacting? For Spark, what is your armor? How is it protecting you?
So it has a like consists of the water because I'm trading with the fire. So my armor is basically consists of water and then basically absorbing those like ability of the fire, like the damage. And
Okay.
yeah, yeah, does that make
Yeah,
sense?
very cool. So is
Okay.
this like, are your clothes enchanted with the power of water, or is it like a shield of water?
It's a shield of water.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is that always there, or does it like emerge when you're in danger?
So once the fire is coming, like in danger, then the water is come out from me and then it protects as a shield.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay. How is Esme feeling about getting burned by impossible fire?
I think, well, I rolled really low, so I'm going to say it like completely caught me off guard, and I like it just like singed my eyebrows off. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's just like I have a little bit of like smoke coming off my head, and it's like maybe a little bit funny. Like it's not it's not like severe damage, but I am just kind of like, what?
All right. And Falcone, you managed to avoid this. So you might have gotten the best look at it because you weren't getting actively burned by it. But all three of you experienced this, like it burned and kind of lashed in a way. And if these characters had the concept of a fourth dimensional object in this world, like maybe the fourth dimension is magic, right? It was behaving and moving in a way that is beyond the normal world. And all of this happened, Spark, because you were trying to understand how the reality of this space fit together. And I wonder, how do you feel about what just happened, and what do you think Spark believes is the reason why this happened?
So as a like sorcerer, and then as a like afraider, like the people who afraid really easily. But we found something. So and then also he has a lot of curiosity. So as long as he found something, he's always like excited, but like doesn't care about like that much about like the other things.
Okay. How are the other folks feeling about what just happened?
I am personally upset with the White Baron. I'm already immediately blaming the White Baron. Like whatever magic just happened, I think it was that thing that tried to kill us. I think I'm putting on the scales of justice here. I'm like another point for taking them out.
You just want to commit a murder today.
I I think we've been nearly murdered. Like here, clearly, something yelled at us in the swamp. I'm I'm just saying it might be doing the whole like multi-dimensional world here a favor and just clearing out another undead.
I'm just giving Spark the side eye, being like, "Hey, maybe let's fool it on the magic, especially the fire magic, for a little bit." As like like my eyebrows are like completely singed.
Okay. So the Void Lake lies ahead of you. What do you do?
Well, we're definitely not going to try to burn it. And it looked like it just shot out those rocks that you put in it, right?
Yeah,
Falcon, so
my it has to be asked though. If I jumped in, would I just bounce back up? And that sounds honestly kind of fun. So
what if I like throw you in, like try to get you like a little bit further? Or
I
what if you turned into a bird and like
that
flew over?
I was okay. I was totally thinking being a bird might be this might be the time to do it. Like transform, fly over, get a good look at things. Um, I think I'd be a scout, so I'd also be sneaky. Like
Mhm.
no one would be able to d detect me. So I'm gonna
Okay,
do.
yeah. So with your beast form, you would mark a stress, and then right, you pick one of those forms. Yep. So you've got your agile scout. It adds to your agility.
Now, I did see that being a Firbolg, I have an unshakable trait. Like when I should mark a stress, I can roll a d6 instead. And if I roll a 6, then I don't mark it.
Yeah.
Can I do that instead of that stress?
So yeah, whenever you would mark a stress, you get to roll that die. So what you can do, probably the easiest thing is if you just want to type into the text chat input in Roll20 /roll and then space and then the number 1, the letter D, and the number 6, and then press enter. Perfect. So
Ah,
that's a 4. It's not the
marking
6.
marking a stress.
You'll still have to mark that stress, but you get to do that every time you would mark stress.
Okay.
Um, so you're turning into a bird. What does your bird form look like?
Um, I I really want it to be a falcon just because it
Yeah.
makes sense. The name makes sense. Yeah, so I'm thinking like peregrine falcon, a cool looking bird of prey, really fast, um, and quiet. I think that's like it's an agile scout, so I'm
Right.
going to be silent as when I'm flying as well.
Is there some feature in your bird form that harkens to what you look like in your humanoid form?
Maybe the
Or
eyes. I like to think that like bird eyes, like the way like they look really far and they're like almost intense stare. Like maybe even in my like normal humanoid form, I have that. Even if I'm like totally like daydreaming, I just always look like I have this piercing vision. Um,
okay, cool. And so you're gonna fly. Sounds like you're flying over the lake.
yes. Um, maybe just trying to get a better view of a lot of the keep that's under the water and a
Mhm.
sense of what else might be down there, so I can report back to everyone.
Yeah, and so when you take beast form, you get advantage in certain situations. Basically, if you're using certain verbs, you're going to get advantage. And one of the ones for the Agile Scout is locate. And we're going to let that apply here as you're kind of looking through things. So I do think that there is something that will be useful to be able to locate. This is not going to be agility, though. I think this is going to be an instinct roll because it is about like seeing and finding. But what you get for being an agile scout and flying is that you can make this roll in a way that you absolutely could not without flying. Only by
Interesting.
flying over the lake as you are could you even have the chance to see this thing.
Excellent. Should I just do the roll?
Yeah, so you can roll with instinct. You can
Yes.
apply an experience if you wanted to, right? If you think one of your experiences maybe would make this easier, right? We can look at your
Eh,
traits.
I don't think.
No, not so
Predator and
much,
Town Medic, yeah.
right? If you
Mm,
were looking for an animal, maybe a predator would make more sense, but maybe
yeah.
not here.
18
Okay. An
with fear.
18 with fear. All right. So the upside is that you see what you're supposed to do. This keep is inverted, right? What you realize is that at a certain angle, if you look down at the keep from a certain spot, kind of a quarter of the way around this lake, it's as if you could walk right from the edge of the lake into the keep itself, right? So it's almost like an optical illusion. And don't think too deeply about how this works because I'm fudging it because it's magic. But you realize that that must be at least a way you could get in, right? You think that that makes sense, and you're trying to math it out when a fireball tries to knock you out of the air. So I'm going to make an attack roll against you
Okay.
as a ball of fire comes kind of launching. It's like it's curving like a like a catapult strike or like a volley fire. And Spark and Esme, you see that it's coming from kind of like farther down, like around the lake from where you are. You see it in the air before so you don't see where exactly it comes from, but it is over there. Now, what I'm going to do, because you rolled with fear, is I'm going to make a move. And this is a little bit of a harder move because we're in that last hour and I want to like get everybody's blood rolling. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll a 20-sided die, right? Kind of the classic D&D die. And I'm adding +3 for the adversary that is making this attack. And this number is going to go against your character's evasion score for Falcone.
Okay. So 12 for me.
Yeah, right. Because I think you've got that bonus as a bird, right? It
Yep.
makes sense. You're harder to hit. But I got, not only did I get
Whoa.
enough, I rolled the highest number I possibly could, which means sometimes I get to get a critical success. And when I roll a 20, I get a critical. Thank you, Dice, for listening to my pleas to raise the stakes.
Can I
Um,
can I
so
give my rune awards to Brendan? Is it possible? Is that I can make a shield against this
Yeah.
Ooh.
So normally you would declare that ahead of time, but because we're learning, I'm totally fine to have said that you did that, right? Maybe you did that just before Falcone took off. If that's okay with you, Brendan.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Very okay
Okay.
with me.
So I'm going to calculate my damage, and then you'll get to use the runic ward, Stephen. Um, that does actually take numbers off of that damage score before we compare it to the thresholds. But first, I'm going to look at my damage math. So this attack does 1d10 plus 4 magic. When I roll a critical, I take the die, and I imagine that I'm taking the highest number of that die, so a 10, and then I'm rolling my normal damage, and I add them together. So I have a minimum of a pretty high damage roll. So this ends up being as 10 plus 1d10 plus 4. I didn't say roll. So that's 24 damage.
Oh my
It's
God.
really high.
Jeez.
If we look at Falcone's thresholds,
14. You're doing severe damage. That's
okay. So unfortunately, 24 minus 8 is right. So that would still be 16.
Yep. Still
So
severe
even if the
damage.
runic ward did its maximum, Falcone would still take that damage. But I want to let you make that roll if you would like, and I'll fudge it, and I'll say if you roll an 8, you get to roll another die and take that much more off. So maybe it could help, but only if you roll an 8.
Exactly an 8. Okay. That's
Yeah.
still a duality die?
Well, so this will be Steven rolling, right, to
Oh, okay.
represent the magic of Spark. So you'll roll an 8-sided die, so / roll, and then 1d8. 1d8 as if it were a word.
Okay.
And if you get that 8, you'll get to roll again and add them together, and maybe that will then be enough.
Okay. And then how many, like there's a like plus. How many plus do I need to put it in?
No plus, just
Oh,
the 1d8.
okay. 7.
7. Okay. So you can see, right, like so because Falcone is in a falcon form, right? I don't know that he's wearing the rune ward, but Brendan and Stephen, how do you think that protection manifests so that we can see that Spark's magic was trying to protect you but wasn't strong enough?
Like a glowing orange orb around me? Is that spark? Does that make sense? Like something kind of shimmering, like a shield, force field kind of thing?
Yeah, the shield. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And so it's one fire against another fire, and there is like a burst, but Falcone, unfortunately, that burst of protective fire was not strong enough, and you are blasted by this burst of fire, and you're going to take 15 magic damage, which should be enough to be severe for you.
Yep. 3 HP.
Oof.
Yeah.
So you can use armor.
Oh, yeah.
That could be 1 armor and 2 HP,
That will be 1 armor, 2 HP.
right? And basically you absorb your armor into yourself and it becomes like metaphysical armor. We don't worry about too much about that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, because you're level 1 and we're using the level 1 tier 1 animals, you have a feature called fragile.
Oh, yep.
Do you want
I'm
to read us
falling.
what that is?
When you take major or greater damage, you drop out of beast form. Um,
Uh-oh.
yeah, that will be fun.
So
Oh
you're
no.
you're in the air, you get blasted by this magical fire. You got that entrance, right? You know where it is. And the last thing you saw before the fire kind of knocks you out of the sky is you can see this kind of waving, almost like this is going to be a funny reference, but you know, we're all out here to have a good time. You know those air balloons out in front of a car dealership?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
wacky, wiggly, waving
Yeah.
arm man.
What if that was made of fire?
Oh,
But
silly.
it has a frowny face, a very frowny, angry face, and was ready to start throwing another thing at you. So Esme and Spark, you see Falcone back in his Firbolg form, falling out of the sky toward the void lake. You don't know what's going to happen if you go into that lake, but you do know that if your friend falls into it alone, you may not be able to help him. What do you do?
I don't think about it all, and I just charge right into the lake.
Okay.
Yeah,
Spark?
me too. And then I also like turn on the small fire so that Cat can see something because she will be like running really fast. So in the dark, so like turn on the lights for her.
All right. So for bookkeeping's sake and for the audience, when Falcone got that roll with fear, I should also gain a fear, right? So I made the move and I gain 1 of the fear resource. So I'm back up to 3. So Esme and Spark head into the water, and what happens is that you charge into the water, and when your head and your eyes are submerged, your sense of direction reorients. And if someone were outside the lake, they would see you upside down running along the surface of the lake, but underneath it. But what you see is that you are running along a seabed as if you are inside of the lake, but you are not in water. Things float and swim around you and flow like, you know, seaweed flows, but you do not feel water on your body. This is what the void lake is like on the inside. But I'm going to return the spotlight to Falcone, right? You've fallen into the lake, and I'm going to spend a fear to do something that's very coincidental to keep things moving forward. Our camera, if this were a TV show or a cartoon, right? It moves from beneath Falcone as a falcon, and Falcone drops and transforms back, and now the camera is looking down, and you're falling and you're falling, and you can see that below you is the reflection of the keep, and you fall through a window into the White Baron's keep and crash into kind of what looks like maybe an unused bedroom or like a servant's room or something. All of the linens are dusty, and there is like the air is thick, as if people have not moved through here or life has not been here, like musty, a little old, maybe a little bit of mildew. And when you look back out the that window to the keep, you cannot see where your friends are, but nor are you underwater, but you are inside a very old fortification.
Do we
Fascinating.
do we see him fall into the window? Like, do we see where he ends up or no?
So you see him fall to the surface, but he does not make a splash. He just vanishes.
Okay.
Can I add in while I'm falling, I'm like screaming, "Help me!" as the whole way down.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, Falcone, let's stick on you. You're in this room. There is a door, and there is that window.
Yeah. So is there anything against me turning back into a beast? Like turning into a mouse or something small and kind of sneaking around now? Like I don't know where I'm at. I know that I
Yeah.
can be quieter if I'm in animal form. So yeah, I'm gonna go back to being a scout and I'm just going to turn into a mouse or something like a small rodent in this case.
Okay. So it's mark a stress to do the beast form.
Oh yes, can I roll the D6 first?
Yes.
Um, and, and can I also say I'm gonna open the door first? Like squeak it open just a little so that I
Yep.
realize it's a mouse. I can't get
Yeah.
out of there.
No problem.
Um,
Love the attention to detail there.
yeah, I'm like I don't want anyone saying that it's closed.
Okay. So
I got a
not
5.
quite.
Ah,
Maybe he's still
okay.
a little shaken. Um, but yeah, you transform into, right. It's like is this like do you have a type of mouse in mind?
Like a deer mouse. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. Uh, the trick here is that I don't know a ton of different animal types, so I'll just believe you. And right, if it doesn't exist in our world, it does in this one. Um, what I'll say is you could make a finesse roll to kind of sneak around, or because you're a mouse, I would say if you just mark another stress, no one will see you unless basically I get to make another move. You will be unseen until either there is a dramatic moment where I use a consequence to reveal you, or you want to be revealed.
Okay. Um, I have a lot of stress built up already.
You
Uh,
don't have to take the bargain. You
okay, I
if you
think I want
don't,
to go with the finesse roll.
then you'd make the roll. Yeah.
And should I be choosing a direction I'm going in? Like, I know the entrance that they could take to the keep. Can I just say I'm heading there?
What is if your intention is to get to the entrance to get out, then that is the direction you will make progress toward if you succeed.
Okay. I don't want to get out. I just want to meet back up with my team, make sure that I'm not alone at that point.
Okay. So you want to like locate the entrance?
Yes, there we
Okay.
go.
Cool.
Finesse roll.
The difficulty for that is going to be 15
Oh,
because you're seeing this from the perspective of a mouse. And this is a very old building, and they're not laid out like buildings are anymore, or buildings are laid out now. So it's very different.
okay. I already failed that roll, but I
Okay.
did get hope during
Yeah.
that
So
process.
a failure with hope, you take a hope, and it's not as bad as it could be.
Okay.
So, right, we follow Falcone the mouse kind of trailing around and skittering, and you go down a set of stairs, and you kind of go tick around. And what we do is we kind of pull back to like a almost like a top-down map image, and we see the little dotted line like it's Indiana Jones, and Falcone just ends up going in a total circle, and you're back at the bottom of the stairs where you were, and you just don't know exactly how it is that you're back where you were because you thought that you took three lefts and then a right. So you're not in more danger, but you haven't really made any progress in figuring out where you are in relation to anything else. And we're going to cut away to Esme and Spark.
Okay, so we're like charging at the keep, running.
Yeah, right. So you're underwater. Um, People outside would see you walking along the undersurface of the lake, but you are in the lake and there are contours, right? It doesn't have to make sense. It's just cool. Here, I'm definitely inspired by a level in Clair Obscure Expedition 33. So shout out to that game. It kicks butt. Um, uh, Good level design in terms of like concepty stuff. So there are not a lot of threats down here for you because the threats that the White Baron has cultivated in this area are to keep out the things that are actively threatening him. Right? You have a lake of void. It's not just normal water, it's void water. And you all just got attacked by an elemental. But it's not here right now. What are you thinking as you advance on the keep?
I feel like my primary motivation is to figure out where Falcone went. So I'm kind of trying to like, triangulate in my head where he fell in the water and where that would probably put him. I don't think it's occurred to me that he would be inside the building. But I'm sort of like looking for signs that he is around, trying to like find him basically.
For
Okay.
me, I'm just curious about like all the like the elements things. I basically following the cats, following the yeah, cat, and then like trying to understand what are there, what kind of the like threaten can to us,
Okay.
like basically investigating.
So I've just been informed that we have received a $960.11 donation, which takes us over our $5,000 goal. That's why I was slightly distracted while you all were giving your descriptions. So a huge thank you to our
Woo.
last donor, and a big thank you to every donor across this year in ArvCon and in years past. It is really great to be able to come together with people across different disciplines and, tell stories together and highlight the really cool, smart, out of the box thinking work that our scientist fellows here and other folks involved with the Damon Runyon Cancer Research Foundation do in order to fight this gigantic medical scientific battle against cancer, this whole category of maladies, which has touched so many people's lives. And so I want to kind of take a moment to put that spotlight on this collective effort by everybody who has donated and been a part of this project and this activity. And huge shout out to Arvin Elleron, our host, Greg Wilson, for making this happen, creating ArvCon, and kind of guiding all of us in creating this situation so that we've been able to raise over $5,000 USD for the Damon Runyon Cancer Research Foundation over the course of this weekend. Great job, everybody. So this goal of 5,000 has been slain, but there are demons yet, and challenges await. Keep donating. You do not have to stop donating. In fact, I would encourage you to keep donating if you are inspired or called to action by this great act of generosity by the unnamed donor. If Greg wants to name them later and they want to be named, that's fine. I will leave that to him. Greg says, well, if we hit 6K, I also have to eat an oatmeal raisin cookie. So just putting that out there to you. So coming back to our story, we have Esme and Spark kind of rushing to get into the keep and reconnect with their fallen friend. We have about a half an hour left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you, would you rather have a quick and dirty fight or an interesting confrontation, like role play, social interaction?
Ooh.
I'm gonna vote for fight, but
Fight?
I
Yeah,
can
I also I haven't gotten to swing my axe yet.
that
Okay.
I want to go peck someone with my beak or something. Let's
Okay. So if that's the case, then I'm going to take some liberties. And I'm going to say that because we got such a big donation, I'm gonna ramp things up, and I'm gonna say, and this is mostly an apology to Stephen, because I'm going to reveal that inside a little bit of your fire that travels with you, this fire elemental has piggybacked into the void lake and
Uh-oh.
is following you, and we
Oh.
see this little fire dancing kind of around you, almost like it's a little demon on your shoulder. And when you get to the gate and you throw open the heavy ancient wood, you see before you like a very old style, like baronial court, right? There is a an elevated stage area. There are 2 long tables. There is a fairly modest throne, and on that throne is a gaunt, decayed figure, right? Not quite a skeleton, but with a baronial crown and a heavy sword laid across his lap. Skeletal and gaunt undead court kind of seated and standing around him. And you burst into this room. And for a moment, there is no sound because everybody is surprised, right? You're seeing an incredible sight. All these undead are seeing an incredible sight. And then there is laughter like crackling, bursting wood. And Spark, from your shoulder, like a fire exposed to pure oxygen, a conflagration bursts out, almost like searing your ear, incidental damage. And this fire kind of flares out and then pools and rebuilds itself in the middle of the room. And there is screaming from the court as this fire elemental has finally found its quarry in the White Baron. In another game, here is where I would say we're going to roll initiative. But that's not how Daggerheart works. We just follow the story. What I'm going to say is we're going to cut away quickly to Falcone. And what you hear is the distant but still audible, like swinging and crashing of wooden doors against a stone wall. And then you hear something that could only be explained by like a huge 100-foot bonfire bursting into flame all at once. And you know which way that is.
Perfect. I go that way.
Right.
Moving as fast as I can on my little mouse legs.
Right. And so we see Falcone running off as fast as possible in this form. And then we're going to jump back into the kind of the baronial court here. We're going to use what was called theater of the mind. And this is basically, we're going to kind of have an abstract map in our minds where I will explain where things are in relation to each other so that we don't have to get really, really specific about it. The ranges in Daggerheart are built for this type of story. So if you have a question about how far away something is, just ask and I'll explain, and we'll try to keep everything in mind. And if you get confused, it's okay. It's not a problem. We'll just all work this through together. What you realize is that this fire elemental wants to kill the Baron, but does not seem to care about collateral damage, because what it does first is it goes over to try to catch a chair, like an old wooden chair, on fire, and kind of lights it on fire and then sucks the magical fire out of that to grow even bigger. And it lashes out to burn one of these undead courtiers who just looks like a random person who has been dead in the same clothes, slowly decaying for centuries. And I'm curious, who is your enemy here right now?
Am I in the room yet? Or
not quite yet.
Okay.
I want to linger on Esme and Spark and make them sit with this question.
I mean, I think I was sort of morally ambiguous about the undead, and I'm kind of mad at the fire elemental for like, I'm going to make the assumption, I don't know if this is true, but my character is going to be like, this is fire, and fire just hurt Falcone, so like probably means us harm. Like I'm kind of like, I don't want to fight it, but I think it probably wants to fight me, and I don't have a read on the what, White Baron? I don't have a read on yeah, the White Baron. Can I also take this opportunity to try to like look around and see if I can figure out anything about like, because we're here for the quill, right? So can I just like look and see if it's around in this room anywhere?
Yes, but doing so could expose you to a danger because you're focusing on something that isn't the combat that's unfolding in front of you, which means you would get to make a roll. But if you get a result with fear or a failure, that will generate an opportunity that could go really badly for you.
Okay. Well, I'm probably not going to do it because I think I'm so surprised by the whole situation. Like searching is not really what I meant. I meant more like if it was like obviously displayed on the wall or something. You know, does that make sense?
Sure. It's more interesting if the answer is yes. because
Okay.
then there's then there's something else that is drawing your attention. And right, we get the question of what is important to these heroes in this moment. So, right, the White Baron is standing, pulling the sword up into a ready stance as the courtiers scatter. And you see that behind and to his right, there is like a shelf altar on the wall. And the Aether Quill is kind of stood up in. You don't think that's actually like there's actually ink there? I think it's just a holder that looks like an ink pot. That's what you think from 80 feet away, but it's undoubtedly some kind of special quill because it shimmers even this far away.
Okay. Spark, do you have thoughts and feelings about what is unfolding?
I am I almost dying because of the like fire is coming up from that shoulder? Is it what?
No, so because because you are also an elementalist of fire, and because I was doing this as an improvised move, I'm not going to make you also take damage. Now, if you want to kind of follow that fiction of you were just surprised by really intense fire, you can act in that fashion, and that's really cool. But I'm not going to make you take damage.
Okay. Do you have any suggestion, Kat? Like I
I think my first instinct would be to, because we don't immediately see Falcone, to kind of like back up and maybe like see how the situation plays out a little bit and like what happens with the interactions between those two. And at the same time, kind of be thinking like, is Falcone here? We didn't see him outside. So, and we ended up here. So presumably we've somehow figured out he's around. But
yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Does that seem reasonable to you?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we need to find out Falcon first. That's the reason we come here.
Okay.
Mhm.
So sounds like you're kind of holding back for the moment.
Yeah.
All
But
right. So
definitely like ready to fight if we need to, for sure. Not like running away, just like kind of
yeah,
like,
Yeah.
no worries. So in that case, I'm going to go ahead and take this as an opportunity to make a move because you're hesitating, and these, we're believing in the reality of the fiction. So if the players don't act, the story will keep happening, right? And so this elemental kind of almost like a slinky, right, in little flaming plumes, climbs its way across the room and tries to blast the White Baron along the way, right, hurling another fireball. And I don't often have one NPC attack another NPC, but that's what's happening in this situation. So I'm just going to roll with it, right? Um, so this is the fire elemental attacking the White Baron. And that's an 11. And here I'm going to, let's see, I'm just going to use my book. Because this is an improv driven game, and I didn't do any prep because we were doing just creating things in the moment. We're doing it live, baby, right? So I'm going to look up Skeleton Knight is going to represent our White Baron, and it has a difficulty of 13, which means that this fire blast actually doesn't hit. And so you see that fire blast arcing toward the White Baron, and he swats it out of the air with a sword that sheens with like shimmers with an unreal light. And so it cuts a fireball in half and it disintegrates into smoke. And the Baron speaks. You're not sure that the White Baron still has lungs, but does have a voice, and says, "Intruders, malefactors, explain yourselves, mortals, and help me," right? And like charges forward to take on the elemental. This Baron is acting like a liege lord whose home is being attacked and responding to protect his people. If you had suspected malice from him, I wonder if you are still doing so.
I think at this point I'm kind of like, A, because the fire elemental attacked Falcone, and because he doesn't seem like he's attacking us. I feel like my sort of sympathies and also my like drive for vengeance to get the thing that hurt Falcone would encourage me to like kind of just like be like, okay, and just like pick up the axe and try to attack the fire elemental.
Okay. So let's jump back to Falcone, right? You hear the sounds of battle ever louder as you're racing through the halls. And because you are a mouse, you are small enough to just run under the door that leads from kind of the the service area in the keep where you were in. It's easy to follow the sounds of battle, and you sneak right under the door and you see up and above you your friends on one side, a huge fire elemental, that thing that attacked you, as it closes in on like a the decayed form of a once regal warrior baron, still wearing the cool baronial crown and bearing a giant two-handed sword that is probably taller than you are. Not as tall as Esme, but taller than you are. Um, and like the battle is joined, and it looks like maybe Esme and Spark are going to get involved, but so far the clash that's about to happen is between the White Baron and the Elemental. What do you want to do?
I'm certainly running over to where Esme and Spark are. Um, and I'm certainly going to be a bit ecstatic. Like, I'm going to be like, oh, this is so cool. What's happening?
So are you transforming back from a mouse?
Yes, can I? I was looking. It looks like I could still talk even though I'm a mouse. Like, there was like, when I'm in my beast form, you can talk and communicate as normal.
Yeah,
With
so you
Leonard
can stay a
alive.
mouse if you want. It's just that
Yeah, that's
uh,
not useful. I'm gonna
a
switch
mouse
away
may,
from.
yeah, mouse may not be as useful in a fight if you want to be proactive.
I'm dropping out of my beast form for
Okay.
now. And
Um, because it's funny, did you talk while you were still a mouse? And if so, is your voice different?
I was thinking this, like a squeaky, like high-pitched voice. Maybe as I'm transitioning, I'm so excited by like they're not clearly in trouble and they're fighting, so I'm like squeaking out like, "This is cool. What did I miss?" Like as I'm like growing.
Okay.
I really
Uh,
hope I hear about that blade chopping the fireball in half, by the way.
yeah. So because we've got about 20 minutes left, we may only get one or two kind of combat moves. So there's a couple options. We can just do it like normal, and then I can do a quick wrap up, or we can turn this into a group action where we have everybody just say a little bit about what they're doing in the conflict, and then we make those roles and the main role. How does that sound?
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Okay.
Group action
So
works.
anything that you have that is combat can apply to these roles. This is a little bit of a kind of adjustment to how things go. Usually combat doesn't take this form with a group action, but I think it'll be fine. So of the three of these characters, who do we think is kind of the combat leader for the group?
Oh, Esme, certainly.
Yeah, it's for sure me.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you like give commands? Are you like telling the others what to do? Are you letting them do their own thing? Like how do we see this leadership?
Um, that's a good question. I feel like I'm just looking at my character sheet, a little more like vengeance and kind of like me personally sort of motivated. So
Mhm.
I guess maybe my thought would be to try to inspire their action through sort of like being decisively active myself and maybe kind of like putting myself out there to like first that they can kind of like support.
Okay. So like lead by example,
Yeah.
frontline commander. Great. Okay. So let's say, okay, what is your overall intent, right? Are you trying to stop? Are you trying to take on the elemental? Are you taking on the White Baron? Are you trying to fight them both? What does victory sound like for the three of you in this moment?
I don't know about the other two, and we haven't like had a chance to actually talk about it, but I feel like it's like gotten too complicated for me to really parse out, but I do know that like fire is bad. So my main goal is to stick it to the elemental, and then we'll kind of like sort out whatever else happens. Like I've kind of abandoned ship even on the quill, and I'm just like the fire tried to attack us, time to get it.
Okay.
Do you guys have, I mean, you might have slightly different thoughts.
Oh, I'm with you. I got hit by fire. I've immediately connected it with the elemental I'm seeing. I'm like, let's take that thing out.
Okay.
I'm all over the undead. Like, sure, it could live. It's being attacked by the fire thing too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Stephen, how's Spark feeling?
Yeah, Spark feel weird because Spark actually came like things maybe he is maybe my professor or maybe my advisor. I don't know what happens, but like it feels like it's our like ally. So I couldn't like follow directly Kat and Esme and also Falcon, but like we came here through together. So I just like being as a neutral, but support them, but not proactively like attack them.
Yeah. So do you think, are the three of you like talking? So there's a kind of a genre tone that we could be in where as the fight is happening, the three are talking about like, what's going on? What are we gonna do? Like, do we think it's like that kind of vibe, or do they just know from the look on one another's face what they're thinking or something else?
I like the idea of the two, like the elemental and the white being in like intense combat, and we're just like having an aside, like a side
Yeah.
conversation with him.
Yeah.
Like, should we be jumping in? Should we be
Right.
helping?
Because it's so in comics and in TV or film, right, there's this notion of serious foreground, funny background.
Yeah.
Right. And so if we reversed our camera and we had the white and the elemental in the foreground, and then there's the three heroes kind of like just chatting in the background, right, we get a beat of that. And then, right, if you're joining the fight, we'll do these roles. And so I would ask for Spark and Falcone, how are you contributing to this fight? Right? How are you helping Kat achieve your group's overall goal? And then Kat, you're going to make the main role for Esme. So Falcone or Spark, how do you think you're contributing?
I'm going to use the rune ward again to protect Cat against the damage.
Okay. Yeah. So what we'll do to represent that here is we'll have you make a roll with instinct to represent how much of an impact your ward makes on the scene. Normally the ward uses different rules, but because we're stepping back to this kind of abstract space, let's express it that way.
Um, okay, then I'm gonna just okay. I will let um Falcon do first and then wait and
Okay.
then how it work and then I will decide later. Like, cause
Yeah,
it's
sure. So Brendan, what is Falcone's role in this fight?
Yeah, so I know that Esme was hurt at one point, but it was only one hit point. I could heal that. I also have a spell called Unleash Chaos, which I'm like, that would almost be perfect to throw into the mix here. As Esme's brushing up, I cast it against the fire elemental, and we just kind of see what happens.
Okay. Yeah, so we can use Unleash Chaos, have you make the attack roll with instinct, and then um, there is something called a tag team action. And what that looks like is somebody spends 3 hope, and then 2 characters each make an action roll. And if you both succeed, or is it, sorry, if either of you succeeds and you're doing an attack, you both roll damage and you add it all together.
Let's do that.
Right. So, Falcone, I see that you have 4 hope. Esme has 3, so either of you could do it. And then we're going to have Spark still make a roll like it's a group action because I want all 3 of you to be able to contribute to this moment. And I want you to have a mechanical impact on that.
Perfect. I'll spend my 4 hope per 3 hope here.
Okay. So to keep this dramatic, here's what we should do. Brendan, make your attack roll with instinct. And then Stephen will have you roll for Spark to see how much your protection applies. And then Kat, you'll roll for Esme, and we'll look at those 2 attack rolls.
Okay.
Good roll, please. Look at that.
Okay.
22
Wow.
with fear though.
All right. So that's a 22. Very good roll. Stephen, if you want to make an instinct roll to represent your protection.
yeah, that's a 2.
Mhm.
Like order is 2. Yeah.
Okay, and then I'm making an attack roll, but can I use my forceful push ability, which I think gives me +2?
Yeah. So let's look at that. So you make an attack with your primary weapon. Yeah. So just roll a normal attack, and then if you succeed, you get to decide whether to use it.
Okay, and then the last thing is I feel like the no patience for subtlety experience could come into play here because I'm kind of
Absolutely.
just like truly actually getting rid of all the subtleties and just chopping. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
like what, 1 hope to add 2 to the roll?
Correct. So you would
Okay.
have you'd have a total of +4 on your attack.
Okay, so 2 for my strength and then 2 for the.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, great. Okay, I'm taking off my hope. I'm adding 4. Okay. So I got 18 with also with fear.
Okay. And then Stephen, what was the total on your roll?
2.
Oh, wait, did you get a 1 and a 1?
Oh
Uh,
no.
Let me try again.
Or were you rolling the 1d8 for the ward?
Yeah, just 1d8 for the.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's the normal rule. What I'd like you to do is make a spellcast roll instead, because we're abstracting a little bit, right? We're taking this protection, but we're expressing it with a different type of rule.
Okay.
So if you want to roll with your instinct trait.
Okay.
And I have an idea of how that may apply, but let's get the numbers so that we can then follow how that all works.
3, 9 hope, 12 fear.
Very good. Okay, great. So both of these attacks hit, which means everybody, yeah, you both get to roll your damage, right? So Brendan, you can roll, I think you could do up to 2d10, right? So 2 10-sided dice, or roll 2d10 for your Unleash Chaos, because right, each token you spend is 1 10-sided die of damage. And then Kat, you can roll your damage for Esme, which should be the weapon damage here that you have. The
Yeah,
battle
I think
axe is
it's
1d10 plus 3.
plus 3. Okay.
And you can do forceful push, which means because you got a success with hope, you can add 1d6. So
Okay. I'll just do them separately. I don't think I can figure out how to do them together, if that's okay. So I got 7 and then 5.
okay,
So
so
12
that's
total.
12 plus the 16, right? Because on a tag team success,
Yeah.
we add everything together. Both of these rolls were with fear. So it's really good that Stephen decided to use Rune Ward, and we're expressing it that way, because basically this, you'd be able to do this, but you'd be terribly burned by the fire elemental. But what I want you to do is describe for me, Brendan and Kat, what does this like tag team attack look like against the fire elemental? Because we're wrapping up, this will defeat the fire elemental, right? We're letting the we're going to do one big roll for the whole thing. So describe as expansively or heroically as you like, right? We're doing the whole thing in one.
Great. I'll start with the spell. Because I feel like the spell is gonna get there before Esme can, and kind of like soften. My idea is to like distract and soften up the fire elemental. So I'm imagining just like this swirling, like purplish black like substance that's like kind of just hitting and almost engulfing the fire elemental temporarily. And as it's loosening up, I guess Esme could fill in from there, what exactly is happening.
Okay, so like I'm like hefting my axe like this, and then I look over at Falcone and he's like doing something, and then all of a sudden like it gets all weird looking, and I'm just like I just scream at the top of my lungs. I don't know what's going on as I run like this and just stop as hard as I can, hoping that it will make all the complexity of the situation go away.
Yeah, and so you cleave through the elemental that has become wild, unstable, right? The fire is flickering in all these different directions, but you realize that there is some core to the elemental. It is not quite solid. It is like as if you could see the most real part of the fire, like it was a burning ruby kind of surrounded and engulfed by this manifesting fire. And because it's waving every which way, you can see it, Esme, right? And so you cleave with all of your might down through the fire, and you hit the ruby, and it cracks, and the cracks spread and spread, and then burst. And the whole room is filled with fire for a moment, as if your eyes white out, and you know with certainty that heat that you feel as if it is just moments from you, it's very powerful, very scary, but that heat does not sear you because you have been protected by Spark. That rune ward applied again was not enough to save Falcone from the fireball, but in this moment, because of Spark's kind of force of will, because of that, he's able to protect you. For Stephen, why is it in this moment, and in what way is Spark able to maintain the shields for not just one person, but for two people, being able to protect them from getting consumed by the fire?
He he learned friendship a lot, like because we had a lot of like adventure together. And then at the very beginning, he has a like he was really afraid, and then he couldn't do not many things, but like with the help of Cat Esme and then Falcon, he was able to see the world more clearly. And then because of those power, make him like protect two people together with the fire. So yeah.
Okay. And right, the um, Spark, because you're a little bit farther back, right, the fire knocks you off your feet,
Mhm.
but you are a being of fire. This is not as much of a problem for you. We don't have to worry about that part. The whites are not having a good time, but with the elemental gone, they are able to help each other. And so some of them are burned and some singed, and the room is in a really bad shape. But the white baron, after kind of putting himself out, steps over to you. And right, he's not quite giant size Esme, but he's very tall for what looks like a human. And he kind of lets the huge sword rest on his shoulder and looks to each of the three of you and says, I did not expect your coming. I did not ask your assistance, but it is only because of you that my court yet lives. Who are you, and why are you here? And that is where we will end our story for today.
Give a golf clap here. That was
Yay.
great.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you all so much for kind of sharing your afternoon or your part of your day with me and being open to this new kind of creative experience. You all did fantastic job. I'm really happy and impressed by each of you. So thank you for that. It's really fun to be able to get to play with new people and share the game. And, we all kind of roll with the punches and keep things loose so that we can fit the time that we have, which we have now just done beautifully. I'm going to invite each of you to really quickly remind us who you are, and if you'd like, where people can find you if they want to follow your work or just like see what you have to say about the world in whatever way you are on the internet. So if somebody wants to jump in first.
I could do it.
Okay, thank you.
Hi again. I'm Brendan Floyd. I'm postdoc in Dr. Carolyn Bertozzi's lab at Stanford University. I'm not the most social media savvy, but you could find me on a decrepit Twitter X account and a LinkedIn account as well. And then Google generally works as well. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Stephen or Kat?
Yep, I can do it the next. Hello, my name is Stephen Park. I'm a postdoc at Professor Mesela Mouse's lab, Harvard Medical School and Mass General Hospital. And then you can find me at X and Blue, was it Blue Stark? I forgot
Blue
the name.
Sky? Yeah.
Blue Sky, yes, thank you. Blue Sky, and also LinkedIn as well. I'm using, but I'm not a big fan of like using the Twitter or like X or the Blue Sky, but like more than happy to answer any questions if you have
Cool,
connect.
thank you. And Kat?
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm Kat Triandafillo. I'm a postdoc in Arjun Raj's lab at UPenn. I don't really have any social media, but I think I have a LinkedIn, and my email address is on Arjun Raj's website. So if you have any questions about anything, you want to email me or talk about science or ask me to send you a paper, I absolutely will. So my name's very Googleable. You can screenshot it now.
Okay. Very good. Well, thank you again to our wonderful Damon Runyon Fellows, scientists, for jumping in on this cool adventure. It was an absolute delight to get to be your GM and share the game that I worked on with you. And thank you so much to our audience for your support, your encouragement, and your donations to the foundation as we finish this last segment, we're going to have our fearless host, Arvin Eleron, come on and give us an outro. But the four of us are going to step back. And so for me, I will say I'm Mike Underwood. I was one of the designers of Daggerheart. And so it's been really cool to get to have the first like public recorded game of Daggerheart that I do be this charity game with these three lovely scientists in support of my great friend Greg and his really amazing work in ArvCon. You can find me at mikeRunderwood.bsky.social on Blue Sky, and you can find Daggerheart at www.daggerheart.com. And that's going to be all for us. Over to you, Arv.
And before you leave, again, what a great pleasure. First of all, well, as always, Mike, wonderfully done. Really wonderful work from all Brendan, Stephen, and Catherine. Kat, it was great to watch you all do that. And yeah, the dramatic, powerful stuff to match the dramatic, powerful finishing session that we had. And I will say, I'm going to be doing the wrap up now. If we get another $20 in the next 15 minutes as I do this wrap up, it means the scientists will officially pass the Infinity and Beyond crew as the top raising session and would win that crown for the second year in a row, which would be pretty amazing. So, but raising that kind of money, over $1,000 to bring us over 5,000 is really, really awesome. And your play was so good that it forced me to make, ridiculous decisions like agreeing to eat a snack box of raisins, which I will regret forever. But I'm incredibly grateful to all of you. Thank all three of you for what you do as scientists for this work. As we've said, it really is important and it matters to all of us, as you said on Saturday, and it matters to a bunch of us in chat. So thank you. And Mike, as always, my friend, thank you. Wonderful work. And I think Daggerheart got a very good showing today that I hope people will take account of. So
Yeah,
I will let
thanks.
you
It's
folks.
good to be back.
Yeah, absolutely. I will let you folks go, but thank you, everybody. Chat, can we get some love for the, again, amazing Damon Runyon Scientists and Michael R. Underwood in our closing session of ArvCon 2025. Thank you all.
Bye all.
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
so much, Mike.
Really appreciate it. And thank you, so much to Mike. It's been really fun. Thank you.
Awesome.
That was great.
A pleasure.
Yeah,
Awesome.
so
Bye.
fun. Okay,
See you.
bye.
Bye
Thank
for
you.
now all. All righty. Well, that, folks, was awesome. It was not only awesome to watch that really fun game, it was also awesome to be with all of you. And now I get to do the real happy part of this, which is the wrap up, which is the wrap up of what has been, again, another successful event. And we did it, chat, once again. We have, I believe there's only been 1 year, and it was some years ago, that we did not make our goal. We have made our goal ever since then, and it is because of a combination of donations, small, large, anonymous, not anonymous, all of those in between. And it's just incredibly inspiring to see that sort of thing happen in each of these cases, and to see how they all sort of play out. And I should say that looking at this right now, it looks like, unless we're going to get something extra right here, anonymous would be the definitive winner of all of the of having won the prize. But since we can't do that because we don't know their name because anonymous, it means that your top donor winner for this ArvCon is going to be, oh, how do you donate again? It's exclamation point donate. And that'll bring up the link there. There you go. Triffitt just put it in. So, but the top donor is going to be Hillness, unless somebody in the next 10 minutes decides to, do more than that and not anonymously. But that prize from Drew the Damager, the photo, that amazing large photo, is going to be going to Hillness. The second most is going to be going to Dragon Spear, who is going to be winning that smaller one by Prince Justin, which is also really, really awesome. I really love the look of that. And the third one is not actually Delwolf. Sorry. Yeah, it's not Dragon Spawn. Sorry. It's actually Dragon Spear, not Dragon Spawn. I don't know why it's showing that. It should be showing Dragon Spear, not Dragon Spawn. Sorry. Yeah, but you're still loved in our hearts. No, it should be Dragon Spear. I'm sorry. It should be Dragon Spear, not Dragon Spawn. It's interesting. I wonder why it's doing that, because it definitely shows It has me, I guess, because it just has me as those lists. I don't know why it's doing that, but yeah, it should be Dragon Spear. It is Dragon Spear, yes. Dragon Spear is going to be getting that Prince Justin one. And it's not Delwolf in third. It's actually Thordak's mommy who's going to come in third. And they are going to receive the donor prize pack of Super Camelot, of Vikings the board game, of Icarus, Icarus, Greyshade, Renegade, Heretic from me, plus a set of dice from a company whose name rhymes with Blotzy. No, that's not me. I typed in Dragon Spear. It just decided to put together Dragon Spear and Dragon Spawn because both of you had to send me stuff that I then posted and sent. But it wasn't me. I typed it correctly, but it was a little confused about all that. So, but we did it. We put this all together. And because we put this all together, it means once again, we have passed our goal, and it means that we have now raised over $40,000 for Damon Runyon since we began this event 11 years ago. And as I've said to them many times, under many circumstances, although it feels like a drop in the bucket in some ways for the amount that they raise overall, it's really important that we do that. I think that's probably what it was, Effect Life, yeah. What matters is that we as a community came together, and I think it's really important to acknowledge that. This isn't just about raising money to fight cancer for Damon Runyon, which is hugely important. It's also about demonstrating that once again, a community of people, many of whom have never met each other in person, but know each other in many cases just as names on a screen, have come together as the Arvanauts to bring things forward and to be able to support an organization and a good cause. That itself, as I've said many times at this event, puts the lie to the idea that we are incapable of working together, that there is no hope, that the bad sides always wins. None of that is true. And we received numerous examples day after day after day of how it is not true. This is another example of how that was the case. And you were all responsible for doing that, whether you donated, whether you were here in chat, whether you were tirelessly gathering people together to raid like Echo was doing all weekend, whether you were one of the extraordinary moderators. And again, I'm going to talk about them in just a moment. All of us contributed to this on some level. And so you deserve the credit for all of it. And I could not be more proud to have a community like the Arvanauts that we can turn to for events like this. It's an honor to be able to do that. So I have a couple of thank yous to throw out here publicly before we wrap things up. And that is this. First of all, I want to thank all of the corporate sponsors over there. I want to thank Alligator Alley. I want to thank Athos Arts. Oh, thank you, Effect Life. I want to thank Catalyst Game Labs, Fatbot Games, Free League, GOG.com, Nomad Games, and Tin Man Games for giving a lot of these codes. I also want to acknowledge a couple of individuals, including Dragon Spear, for giving away those codes. In addition to donations, Dragon Spear did that too. And of course, I want to thank the folks who gave away, John Helfers, who gave away that shirt, and Jennifer Brozek, who gave away those Tuckerizations from last night, and also, of course, the amazing and awesome Prince Justin for giving away that photo. And again, Prince Justin also did stuff with his time, but I'll come back to that with the mods, and Drew the Damager for that photograph. It really makes a huge difference to be able to have individuals contribute their time, their effort, their energy, and their resources and money. It's not, it's not nothing to be able to get those printed and sent. So I'm really grateful for all of that. And Damon Runyon, again, I'm doing the wrap up right now, as you know, but I wanted to thank you again, Damon Runyon, which I'm going to, actually, I'll come to that right now. I want to thank Megan McCurdy at Damon Runyon for being the person who has helped spearhead our connection with them. It is Megan who's been able to reach out and get the scientists for this game, and I am very grateful to them. I'll come to them when I talk about the players, but I really want to thank Megan for being this event. Hey, Mitchell, good to see you. I really want to thank Megan for being a wonderful contact there. I also want to thank this year Grace, who is the science writer who wrote up the profile that actually profiled this event. And it was great that they not only profiled our event, there you see it, ArvCon celebrates 10 years of grassroots fundraising. That's now 11 years. But not only did that, but also we didn't embarrass ourselves because we passed the amount. They're like, haha, see, put us in a newsletter. And we do, in fact, get to our goal. So I am very grateful to Grace, and I'm especially grateful to Megan. So thank you so much to the wonderful people at Damon Runyon, whom it is an honor to be able to support and feature every year as a part of this event. So let me see what else. That is the companies that I want to thank. I want to thank the individual donors. I mentioned that as well. I want to thank next the players, and then the mods, and then the donors, and then you, and then we'll wrap up. So I want to thank on the event side. I want to thank all the players today. I would like to thank on Friday night, Zach Clay, who got us started GMing a wonderful Our Vocalist one-shot, which turned out to be, looks like a two-shot, with myself and with Rem Alternis and with Indy. Thank you so much to all of them for bringing it, and they brought us together with a $610 beginning to ArvCon 2025. On Saturday, we had the Damon Runyon Scientists, who you've just seen, and so again, I want to thank Dr. Catherine Trianfidilou. I want to thank Dr. Stephen Sangwoo Park, or I should say Sangwoo Stephen Park, and I want to thank Dr. Brendan Floyd for not just their wonderful interviews on Saturday and their wonderful play today, but for being scientists that are really heroic in the work that they're doing. And I hope that this is not only fun for them, but a reminder. We really try to like sort of lather love on all the scientists that we have, and sort of fanboy, fangirl, fan person out about them, because really what the work they do, I think, is heroic, and it's extraordinarily important. Oh my God. And we got Nonstop 3716. Thank you, Nonstop. And with that, and 26, that brings us to $5,100. And I believe what that means is that we have now not only defeated last year, we've not only beaten last year, but it also means that the scientists are now officially the top winning session, the top winning segment of ArvCon for the second year in a row, just beating out D&D with Infinity and Beyond. I love it. It's what I love to see. Thank you to the scientists for doing that too. But thank you again to the scientists. Also, no. The raisin cookie was if we hit 6,000. I have to eat a snack box of raisins. That's what I have to do right now, Dragon Spawn. Nice try though. If we get to 6,000, someone wants to drop a 900 in the chat, then I'll have to eat a raisin cookie. But in the meantime, I have avoided that terrible fate. But anyway, yes. So we are at 5,100 now. No, I did not back out. No. I said snack box at 5,000. 6,000 would be the oatmeal raisin. Oh, no, Shatter. I also, as I've tried to make clear multiple times throughout this whole thing, do not donate anything you do not feel financially capable of doing, please. Sometimes this can get into a little bit of an auction thing, which is cool if people have the money to do it. It's not cool if they're putting, themselves in a terrible spot to do so. So please don't do that. But yes, super grateful to the scientists. Super grateful as well to Buy the Dice Roll. For a while, they were the top earning segment. I will try to do. I'll remember to do that next year, Echo. So that segment was great. Did a lot of good work with Ghost of Saltmarsh. Got a lot of the European folks during the day there as well. So that was awesome. And so I want to thank, as always, Pyron Jade and Wholesome Horror Gaming and Darksaber 2K and Ananda, Undeveloped Bruce, and Fleos for playing as a part of that event. It was really awesome. And again, thank you so much to all of them. Then, of course, I have to thank the members of Expedition for the Mysterious Peaks, Zach Clay again, and once again, we had Toya Kristen Finley and Rhiannon Held and LaShawn M. Wanick. In LaShawn and Rhiannon's case, the first ArvCon for them. They raised, I think, $400 or $500, something like that, during the event. They were great too, and it was great to have them on board and playing as a part of this. So that was awesome. Thank you to them. I want to thank my friend Indy again, who did a wonderful concert. If you were here for this, Indy always brings it with the energy, with the excitement. It was great. So thank you so much to Indy for that. It was a pleasure to be able to have him on board and to do that concert once again. And I want to thank then, of course, Community D&D with the Shadow Crew, as we were joined by, again, the Community D&D crew with Shadowed Mage, of course, who also contributed. I'll come to this in a minute, but also contributed overlays and things like that. Also, very grateful to all of the players. So Tilted Gaming, about whom more in a moment, Drew the Damager, about whom more in a moment, and Hoodie, and of course Yoigawa and Lynn. It was great to have them all on board again with this. The Community D&D session was a ton of fun, so thank you to all of them. Sunday we had our marathon session, of course, with Eberron Oracle of War, so I want to thank the Infinity and Beyond crew of Tren and Marie and Brandon and Jen and John. For a while it looked like they were going to be the top one. They were going to seize the prize back from the scientist session, but it was not to be. The scientists this in the end did overcome Infinity and Beyond to be the top session earner. But the Infinity and Beyond crew for 8 hours plus yesterday were doing this marathon session and season 5 finale of Eberron Oracle of War. So I really want to thank them. That was really awesome. And last but certainly not least, as I already said today, we had the scientists with their amazing Daggerheart play. So I want to thank them again. And of course, thank, as I just did, Michael R. Underwood, because that was hugely important. I'm really grateful to Mike to be able to be back as a part of this. So thank you again to Mike. And again, Daggerheart definitely showed out well. So I hope that helped on your end as well, that you could see Daggerheart really is awesome, as if it wasn't already clear. So thank you to Mike as well. I want to thank all of the players. I want to thank, of course, the moderators, and I really want to spend a second on this because the mods did a ton of work in here. Now, you all know about all of the mods that I've got listed here. Of course, Turbo Tango is one of my mods. That's Mike, but we already talked about that. Shatter Mage and Hillness and Dragonspear, Prince Justin and Triffid. Dragon and Hillness were generous in multiple ways. Hillness, of course, as the top donor for this. Dragonspear especially, because Dragonspear, I think blueberries, but I like both. I like blueberries and strawberries, but blueberries have the slight edge for me. Although I think we're having strawberry shortcake tonight. So that's pretty cool. But I think blueberries have the slight edge for me. Dragonspear did so much work on the spreadsheet in putting it together and structuring it and in working with Triffid. So thank you to Dragonspear for that. And of course, for Dragonspear's generosity in the donation that Dragonspear was able to give. And also, I want to thank the awesome and amazing Prince Justin and Triffid. Well, let me start with Shadowed Mage first. Shadowed Mage, because Shadow did so many of the overlays for this. All of these splash screens and things like you see were done by Shadowed in addition to the community D&D. Oh, and I forgot to mention, by the way, this is important as well. We had for the first time ever an official set of after parties on Sunday with with Tilted Gaming first playing Curse of Strahd and then Drew the Damager. And both of those, by the way, were really awesome. I got to sit in on the first one of those, a lot of Curse of Strahd. I had to head to bed before I could really watch any of Drew's, I'm afraid, because it was so late and I had to get up again today. And I've been streaming for almost 30 hours combined by that point. But they both raised money. I woke up the next day and I think Tilted had a $200 donation during his stream. And I think Drew had a $100 donation during his stream. So that was really awesome. And so I'm really grateful to them for, again, sacrificing their time and supporting the effort. So thank you. But again, both of them are mods. Drew is a mod as well. I already talked about the nations with them. So thank you so much to that. And I also want to thank, in addition to those mods, Prince Justin, who not only contributed that small photograph that I showed you, which is really awesome, and I told you it looks just spectacular, but in addition to that, contributed actually financially and also contributed with running giveaways and watching chat and doing all of those things was just hugely important. And so thank you, not to mention social media and posting it there. So thank you so much to Prince Justin. Thank you as well to Triffity Mats. Triffity Mats was absolutely tireless in running donations and doing giveaways and being, a hype merchant in chat and doing all of that stuff. So Triffid, thank you so much. Again, we're working on building up, getting even more support next year. But I'm so grateful. Thank you so much, Triffid, for the incredible work that was done. And we did actually have a number of people that were stepping in on one level or another, but next year I want to get a couple more mods on board beforehand just to be able to assist. I have ways to do that. But regardless, I'm very grateful to Triffid. So thank you. Triffid is awesome. And the mods in general are the best in the business. Also, I already mentioned Echo, but I do want to thank Echo again specifically quickly for the raid work. Echo was bringing in people basically the entire ArvCon, bringing in a number of channel raids to us, which was really helpful as well. So thank you, Echo, for that. In addition to your donations, I appreciate very much the raid work. That was very much appreciated. Thank you. That leads us to the last two groups that I need to thank. And the first one is I want to thank the donors, because obviously the reason we're all here is to raise money for this foundation. And a number of you raised over $5,000. Just think about that, chat. $5,100. When we started this event 11 years ago, I think I raised like $400 when we first got started many years ago. I was just sort of on a whim. I told everyone I was feeling helpless about it. I'll talk about my feelings about this in a minute. But it started there, and suddenly here we are, having surpassed 5,000 again and surpassing $40,000 lifetime for Damon Runyon. That is real, tangible, positive change. You can feel that. You can see it. You really can do that, and it makes a big difference. Oh, you should have highlighted your last message. Yes. I'll talk about that in just a moment, Shatter. I'm going to come back to that message. That is important. And yes, I did. You did cross my mind what you were telling me about what I knew had happened. So let me talk about that in just a moment. I'll get to that too. But the donors are the ones that make it possible to raise money for this cause and to demonstrate that there is support for this, even when we deal with an anti-science government, even when we deal with some profoundly ignorant and unempathetic people. The majority of us are empathetic. The majority of us are thoughtful and caring and give a damn. And so even if our current government has been hijacked by jackasses and buffoons, what we have right now are a group of people who have come together towards common cause for a really good cause in Damon Runyon. And I'll talk more about that in a minute. So thank you so much to all of the donors who really made a big difference this weekend. Thank you. Last two things. First, I want to thank chat. All of you who were in chat, all of my viewers, all of the Arvanauts here. And if you're just new to the stream and you're like, how do I become an Arvanaut? Congratulations, you're already there. You're an Arvanaut because you've been in this channel, because you've been staying with us. There were so many of you who joined us over the weekend. So many names that were familiar. So many folks that I've come to know over the last couple of months, 6 months. So many of you that I've known for years and years, many over a decade. And for all of you, whether you're new to the channel or you've been here for a long time, I'm so grateful that you were a part of this community. It's really important. And I'm really grateful to all of you for being a part of this and for spreading the word, because I cannot say enough how much it matters that on a local level, as we build these communities, as we go and take this and work outwards, that feeling spreads, right? Just like distrust and disconcern and lack of empathy spreads, the positive thing does this as well. And it's so important that you all can do that. Now we want to get to these messages, and I want to say a couple of these messages that I've just seen in chat, talk about my own thing, and then I'll wrap up by 6:30 as promised. So first of all, thanks, Shatter, for reposting that. From Shattermage. I would ask to hop on to say a few things myself, but it's super last second and not vetted, so I'll just say thank you to everyone. This even affects me directly since we got $3.21 because chaos must always reign. Hold on. Let me get that done. $3.21 means we are 5103.21. Okay, Classic War victory. Team Chaos continues. As I was saying, this even affects me directly, says Shattermage, since I lost my mom to brain cancer this past August. Keep fighting the good fight and keep lifting up these institutions like Damon Runyon that give people like my mom, far more time than they're initially given. Here's to a cure one day. Thank you, Shatter. I appreciate that, and for your generosity. And right down further on, Lord Cucumber says, Greg, to me, donating was very personal as I lost my father to cancer last year, so it was straight from the heart, and you are so welcome. I want to thank both of you for saying that, and I want to note that as many of you watching this channel will know, I lost my mother to breast cancer some years ago, and it was in the wake of the helplessness that I felt after losing my dog to cancer a few years later that I just realized I was like, I'm just so tired of never feeling like I can do anything, of just feeling helpless, like I can't stop it, I can't fix it. And I thought there has to be something that can be done. And as always, in thinking of it that way, I thought the way to do it was to turn back to community. And it's in that spirit that I take those two messages, and I know many more. Not just, by the way, those, but also cancer surviving. The fact that we have a number of cancer survivors who themselves, because of the work that has been done in cancer research, are with us today, or have friends and family that are with us today because of the work that has been done. But when I go in an event like this, I think about my mother. I also now, of course, think about my oldest friend, Ewan Ross, who passed away 2 years ago now, I believe it was, from an aggressive form of bone cancer at the age of I'll come to that in just a second. At the age, thank you, Mrs. Dunsel. Thank you so much. At the age of just a year older than I was at the time, so 50. So he passed away at the age of 51. He was within just a few months of me. This was a teacher. This was a father of 2 children below the age of 18, one of them below the age of 10. And of course, leaving behind his wife as well. And I was honored to be able to speak the eulogy at his funeral, but it was way too soon. The church where we did the service was just filled with teachers, with students who had been affected by this person for the almost 20 years that he'd been teaching at Loomis Chaffee, a private high school in northern Connecticut. Even more poignant to me because I had written him a recommendation letter to get that job. And he was a spectacular teacher. He was wonderful at it. And we lost him way too soon. What we do in this thing is not just about that, right? It's not just about loss or survival. It's about communities coming together in common purpose. And it's enormously, enormously important that we understand the value of what we've done here. I'm going to quickly add Mrs. Dunsel's contribution here to bring us to 5110. Order is restored. Thank you, Mrs. Dunsel, so much. And Damon Runyon, who should, in a way, get the last word on these things. Thank you all for sharing. Hey, good to see you guys here. Thank you all for sharing. This is all too common a story. We're working towards a world where no one loses a loved one to this. Cancer is a complex foe, and our human foes are even more devious, but knowledge will win. It always does. Absolutely. I couldn't say it better myself. And it's important to note, chat, that they are making progress. Many of these cancers that we're discussing were not able to be solved. Think about the HPV vaccine, right? Which has solved a particular kind of cervical cancer, for example, that would have not been able to be detected and which would have a very low prognosis. That is a vaccine within the last 20 years. We're not talking about ancient history. We're not talking about 100 years ago. We're talking about continual improvements. And if we can do this for cancer, then we can do it for other diseases. And if we can do it for other diseases, we can do it for the marginalized. We can do it for those who have been shut out from society. We can do it for all those who feel like they're somewhat disconnected and wish to reconnect. We can do it for all of us who recognize that we are part of a great human family who operate in a human way to solve our problems in a human fashion. That is one of the big things that causes us to be here. And regardless of what faith you have, or if you are of no faith at all, you can agree that we are on some common journey. And in that common journey, we are able to do what we do at this event and all through the year because we believe in each other, we care about each other, and we do the work for each other. It is in that spirit that I want you all, and I always do this sort of clarion call, I want you all to go forth. Because if you felt warmth this weekend, if you felt like that was fun, if you laughed this weekend, if you cried this weekend, which I did a few times, right? If you were moved this weekend, that is a feeling you can take to your own IRL communities, to people, your families at home, your schools, your churches, your charitable organizations, your governmental facilities, the places that you work, that you love, that you dream. Those are places that you can bring forth the heart that you felt here and pay it forward. Not just by donating to Damon Runyon, and you should absolutely do that, but by helping others in whatever fashion of life you have. That is the spirit that ArvCon is sustained on. And so 5110 may not seem like a huge amount of money, but for us, it is a huge amount of money because of what it is and because of what it says about us. And in that spirit, chat, I am deeply, deeply honored to be a part of this process with all of you. I am so grateful to everybody about it. I will send out donation items towards the end of the week. I will post on social media with more thank yous, more extensive thank yous over the next couple of days. But in the short term, I want to thank all of you from the bottom of my heart. What a wonderful event. Thank you all for making that way. Thank you to the players, to the donors, to the mods, to Damon Runyon, to chat, to the scientists. Thank you to all of you who have people you care about, that you know and that you don't know, that you have had a positive impact about today. Thank you all. And I will see you folks back here tomorrow for a joyous Breath of Fire 4 play. For the first time playing that game, a post-ArvCon record, a post-ArvCon stream. And this smile that I have in my heart will stay with me and sustain me for a long time. In that spirit, chat, I love all of you. Thank you. And have a good night. Be good to each other. I'll see you soon.